Am I supposed to be hearing music, Griffin? Because I don't. So that seems
Yeah.
not great if
You
that's the
you don't hear
case.
music. Okay.
No, I
Okay.
don't hear music
Okay.
at all, which
You
is
should be. I believe everyone else is. So that's good, but I guess it would not be
oh,
good.
there it is. Well, I thought it was there. Nope, it's gone again. Well, I don't know. Hey, good morning. Hi. We'll see how this goes. I make no promises today. Live on assignment from my dining room. I am Glenn Clark. It is Glenn Clark Radio. Yes, once again, welcome to our holiday drinking spectacular. Son of a bitch. So if you're with us Friday, then you know that I got a phone call. I got a text during the show. I look down at my phone and I'm telling everybody, hey, I'm not sick. I know I don't sound great, but yeah, it's just allergies. It's the way it goes. It's December, baby. I've got winter. That's what I've got, man. And I get a text and it says, hey, your older son, he has COVID. And I say, well, that doesn't seem great. I thought we were done with all that. I thought it was 2024 and we had kind of moved on from that whole COVID thing. But I guess if my son has it, that probably means that I should go get tested. So I scrambled out of the studio. Still feeling pretty confident given the fact that I had been carrying a 4 year and 9 month streak of having not had COVID, or at least not knowing that I had COVID. And considering for like the first year and a half or two, I was being tested like twice a week with my various college jobs. I was really confident. I was really like believing the hype. I thought I was bulletproof. And yeah, spare me. I got some shots. I did the whole thing. So I show up at the old minute clinic or whatever they call the thing, and I say, "Hey, could you test me for some COVID?" Not realizing, by the way, we gotta have a better way of doing this. Like somebody would say, why didn't you just take a home test? I'm like, well, I wanted to know right then, right. I wanted 100% accuracy. My kid had COVID. I had plans for the weekend. I wanted to know. I wanted to make the appropriate decisions. It takes like these places.
Mm.
I have to save this conversation for another day. Somebody's going to accuse me of sounding like Luigi Mangione.
Was that a
I
bad
don't
thing?
want that.
Wait. Oh.
Well, Griffin, I don't think I want to do that bit. But I mean, what is going on at these places? Gotta wait and wait and wait. And the only pleasant part was that it gave me plenty of time to watch the Navy game. I did enjoy watching the Navy game. I had that going for me, which was nice. Just sitting there, waiting. The guy comes back. He's like, all right, well, yeah, you got it. I'm like, son of a
Oh man.
bitch. I had gone such a long time. I was the Cal Ripken of not having COVID. So yeah, this is my first
Is
time
that what they were saying? Were they
in the streets. Everybody was talking about it.
really?
They were like, "Dude, you know who that guy reminds me of? That guy reminds me of Cal Ripken. I got it everywhere I went." People would be
Everywhere.
like, are you the Cal Ripken and not having COVID?" I'd be like, "Yep, that's me. Good to meet you." So alas, yep, it's the old Covey. That's the one. And these things happen, you know what I mean? Like they happen. It's a real bummer because it came right on the heels of like two of what were already the worst weeks that I had ever experienced. Just the suck of December. I am to understand that I probably the thing that I had last week that was more likely to be like norovirus than like the start of COVID. So I might have gotten the double dip,
Jeez.
the old two for one.
Did you say
Hey,
norovirus?
yeah, that's the more
That's
likely
a
scenario,
thing.
that stomach virus that
Oh,
I
okay.
had last
Yeah,
week.
all right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit better today, which is nice. Like on Friday when I got it, I was just like, I feel fine. Like, I just thought I had allergies, right? The post nasal drip, the nose stuff. And then by Friday night, like I was sitting on my couch, like uncontrollably shivering, like just like nothing I could do about it. My Saturday morning, my whole body hurt. I got more sleep this weekend than I've gotten all year. and yet I'm still exhausted. So all of you are like, yeah, dude, it's called COVID. Like you're all like, you're 4 years late to the party. I had not experienced it before, so it was kind of different for me. But we'll see. I woke up this morning. I felt a little bit better, so I'm hoping that that means that I can get back to normalcy. Obviously, we were not able to do the drinking show today. It's a damn. The show is cursed, man. Maybe you could say that about just Glenn Clark Radio in
Oh,
general. Maybe you could say
maybe.
this show
Yeah.
is just cursed. I'm not sure. Um, I'm not completely giving up hope that before the week is over, we couldn't do it. Maybe. Um, we'll find out. That's all I can tell you. We'll find out that maybe later on in the week. I'm not going to plan for anything tomorrow. Like I think there's a half chance that I could be in studio tomorrow, and I'm gonna, if I test out today and I do feel better for 24 hours, then maybe I'll rejoin the studio tomorrow. But maybe later on this week we do a drinking show. We'll see. And I apologize. And trust me, as much as I don't like drinking, I do like that show, and I do like getting everybody together. And I am a holiday guy, so it's a big bummer for your boy. I still have not done Christmas with my family
Hmm.
to this point, which sucks. But like, hey man, it's what it is. At least there was football on all weekend. If I was gonna be stuck at home, I did have that going for me. A lot of it bad, a lot of really bad football or really non-competitive football. And yet, you know what I'm not gonna do today is make a video on the internet about how football sucks. Like that's, you know what I'm gonna,
I don't
despite
know.
the fact that most of the games weren't close this weekend. I'm not going to do the bit where I'm like, oh, how dare they not all be manufactured close? The NFL
I
sucks.
just wish that we could have had Colts Giants at that as the 8 p.m. game Saturday night. That would have been
Yeah, it
a
was
lot
a
better.
thriller.
That would have been
It
a lot
was
better.
it was a thriller.
Some Joe Flacco putting
Uh,
up
yeah.
35. You know.
So it's what it is. It's what it is. Happy to be here-ish with you today. Griffin, today is the final day of the Governor's Challenge. You want to remind everybody about it?
Sure thing, sure thing. It is the final day of the challenge, the Governor's Challenge, where the top high school basketball talent from across the country is returning to the Wicomico Civic Center. Through starting on the 26th, running through today, the 30th, for the Governor's Challenge presented by Pohanka of Salisbury. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams from 16 states plus Canada, multiple top 10 teams, and nationally ranked players displaying their talents on the court. You do not want to miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org.
All right. So a couple of things, if I could, to start things off today. One, we'll get into. I will never forgive Raheem Morris. I will never forgive him. Well, he should be. We'll do it when we get the picks recap, but I just wanted to be stated at the top of the show. That guy can bite me. That guy, and I didn't even lose American dollars on it, but it's going to be the reason in the end why I've got to get punched by John Rollo and eat a sardine fruitcake. So
That's the
Raheem
reason.
Morris, for what it's worth, like how you even let him coach the last game of the season is beyond me. Like utter complete incompetence in coaching. He called heads in overtime. Because as everyone knows, heads never fails.
No.
Everyone knows that.
That's not what they say. Wait a minute. They say something else, don't they?
God. Called heads. He called heads.
Well, he didn't. It was
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
who. I don't even remember who was there.
As far as local stories this week, and clearly the Ravens off, they get back to work today. We know now that they're playing on Saturday afternoon. A lot of consternation about the fact that their game is not the same time as the Steelers game. I did some poking around this weekend because, again, what a couple of weeks it's been. I was kind of rooting selfishly for a Sunday game because my father-in-law's funeral is Saturday. It's going to be okay. The funeral's at noon. We'll be all right. But I was doing some poking around, and I got the sense that when it came down to it, the result of the Washington game really was important. And the fact that it took 2 playoff berths out of play for next weekend kind of left the NFL in a very difficult spot. The networks have the power. The networks, specifically NBC and ESPN, get the priorities for week 18. Why that is, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Like why they wouldn't say to ESPN, "Hey, dude, you get Monday Night Football all year. If you end up with two duds in Week 18, sorry." But it's part of their deal is that they get meaningful games in Week 18, and that NBC gets the best game in Week 18. So with the result last night and taking the Rams and the Commanders off the board for meaningful games, um, they were really left in a difficult spot. And the Sunday night game was obvious, like that we all knew. But after that point, they just didn't have good options. So, in a world where perhaps the NFC West is still in play and there's a championship game between Seattle, I can't say with certainty the Ravens would have been a 425 Sunday game, but it was looking like that apparently. The result of that game last night kind of locked in that they needed games that meant something. And I get it. The thing that we talked about last week, you don't want the division to have been locked up before the Steelers game. But I think the NFL is doing the math that the difference between playing in Baltimore and playing in Houston in round one is likely enough for the Steelers to go out there and try on Saturday. And so it's not ideal. You do in a perfect world, you want all those games to be played at the same time, like you do. In a perfect world, the Ravens game and the Steelers game should be played at the exact same time. But in a world where you have to give meaningful games to your network partner, the Ravens game obviously is meaningful, and the Ravens don't, it's not meaningful. Whatever happens with the Ravens is irrelevant to what happens with anybody else. It's a win and you win the division scenario. So it kind of makes sense that you put that first. If you put the Steelers game first and they were to lose, then the Ravens don't have to put their players in the game, and then you have a meaningless Saturday night game. Even if the Steelers were to say, well, we don't care about the difference of going to Baltimore or going to Houston, and it's hard to believe that. Like sometimes these things are overrated. And ultimately, like it would be an interesting debate to have in Pittsburgh this week. Like where I would be the guy that would say, hey, you're going to have to beat a real team at some point anyway. If you want to win the Super Bowl, you can't just beat the Texans 4 times. But I'd rather beat the Texans and 3 real teams than 4 real teams. So even if the Steelers were to say, we don't care all that much, then that game still does matter to the Bengals. And it wouldn't matter if you played it after you played, potentially wouldn't matter if you played it after you played the Chargers or the Dolphins games. So, again, they're able to find a game that is guaranteed to matter for at least one team. I get it. I get it. It's not ideal. It's not perfect. Should it be this way? I don't have that answer. Like, should they just play all the games on Sunday and tell ESPN they got to get these 2 makeup games somewhere else during the season? Like, why couldn't it be that last Saturday ESPN got the game? I don't know. But again, if you want to kind of look at it this way, the extra day absolutely can be beneficial to the Ravens, particularly considering they're coming off 3 extra days of preparation. They certainly don't need to wait another day to play. They're going back to work today. The extra day could then be beneficial for them in getting ready for, again, let's flush this out. Provided they beat the Browns and they win the division, they're now hosting the Chargers with an extra day of rest and a team coming across the country. Should give them a giant advantage. For the Ravens, I would assume they were quite good with being told they were going to be playing on Saturday. That they didn't think at all about, well, does this give the Steelers an advantage of knowing whether or not the game matters to them? They 1,000% said to themselves, hell yeah, give us that Saturday game. The Browns were not commit to playing Dorian Thompson-Robinson again. And to be fair, how could anyone? There was a quote yesterday from Dorian Thompson-Robinson that was one of the funniest things I had ever seen. Hang on a second. Daniel Oyefusi, who used to cover the Ravens, now covers the Browns. Oh, hang on a second. He's with the he's now covering the Browns for ESPN. I didn't realize that's where he was. Look at that. Look at Daniel Oyefusi moving up in the world. Oh God, it was a quote from Dorian Thompson-Robinson that just it was so unintentionally funny. Dorian Thompson-Robinson said that the final score and result was the same, but, quote, I thought I executed for the most part in terms of doing my job, unquote. Which just comes off like someone who's worried that they're going to take his paycheck away from him. Like, no, dude, I did the job. I showed up. I was there. I played quarterback for 60 minutes.
Maybe they did ask him, you need to lose so we can get a top 3 pick, you know?
Well, if that was the case.
Unlike other teams, you know.
Yeah, other teams didn't comply. Yeah, right? If that's by the standard of, did you go out and take the snaps and play the quarterback position for 4 quarters, then hell yeah. That guy did his job. He went out and took all the snaps. He stinks. I remember a year ago, we had this debate about why are you playing this guy? And then you watch him, and you're like, oh, they showed a thing or two.
They had him drop back 50 times.
Oh, he's awful, man. He's awful, awful, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So they're not committing to him playing, but I can't, I saw a lot of people on Twitter being like, imagine them just going back to Jameis in hopes of beating the Ravens. If they play a different quarterback next week, I'm assuming it's Bailey Zappi.
Is he on the roster?
Apparently.
Oh, okay.
I was not aware of that. Bailey Zappi, former Patriots quarterback, apparently was at least on the practice squad, if not on the roster altogether. Oh, he's on the active roster, Bailey Zappi. So I can't, there's no reason to go back. This is the really difficult part, too, for the Browns, is how openly can you try not to win? And I don't know the answer to that question. There's a fine line between, you can't make an argument that you want to look at Bailey Zappi for the future, I don't think. Particularly now that we know that Deshaun Watson is definitely going to be on the roster next year, you're not looking for your backup quarterback. If you missed it over the weekend, the Browns restructured Deshaun Watson's contract. So we now know with certainty that he's going to be on the team. So you've got your backup quarterback because he's getting paid an exorbitant amount of money and he's got to be on your team. You've got to find a real quarterback. It was flimsy enough to suggest that you were looking at Dorian Thompson-Robinson to figure out if he could be that guy. Try making that argument for Bailey Zappi. And the part they can't say out loud is, guys, we're just trying to get through to the end of the season. The real question is, why was it anybody besides Jameis? At least Jameis was fun and people were having a good time. I can't make an argument for either one of these guys being somebody that, in a world, again, where you needed a backup quarterback next year, it was fine to say, hey, we want to look at these guys and figure out if they can play. But you've got your backup quarterback now. I provided.
We're sure he's not the practice squad quarterback,
Yeah, I don't know. Something along those lines. Anyway, Ravens, Browns wrap up the regular season Saturday afternoon. Of course, we'll be with you for Project Game Day immediately following the game. PressBoxOnline.com/game day. It's all brought to you by Easy Pass. And 1-800-GAMBLER, myself, Rita, Femi, KZ, Stecca, the whole crew. Come hang out with us Saturday following Ravens, Browns, PressBoxOnline.com/game day. And we will be with you throughout the postseason as well. Looking forward to that. So that, as far as Ravens are concerned, I guess the other couple of notes, because the Dolphins were not eliminated, the Calais Campbell thing, it goes by the wayside. That's a bummer. Again, in watching football yesterday, I ended up, and and that the red zone channel was just 2 games in the late window. Sucks, man. God, sucks. But one of them was the Dolphins game, and it was a popular topic during that game. The broadcast kept talking about the Calais Campbell thing. And so, bummer, because it really did seem like that was plausible. I don't know the rules. I would assume that you can't release someone once the regular season is over. I don't think that's allowed. It certainly shouldn't be allowed. If it is, they got to do something about it. But yeah, the Dolphins, the idea was if they had lost to the Browns or if they had been eliminated this weekend one way or the other, Broncos win, then they were going to release Calais Campbell on Monday, was the story. And I don't know that he would have ended up in Baltimore. But again, given the fact that we know, with beyond the shadow of a doubt, the Ravens tried to trade for him, I think it provided at least the chance that he could. I guess it worked out with Shaq Barrett the way he wanted it to work out, too. He goes back to Tampa, which is goofy. But again, whatever. I'll try to be empathetic given, his circumstances. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. I would have loved to have Calais Campbell for a postseason run. It's still super weird that we have heard nothing more about Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
It is super weird that this is now dragged on for a couple of weeks, and we've heard nothing more about Odell Beckham. What's that?
So it's just no one want him then? I mean, I guess
I don't know what to make of it. It's so bizarre. Like all these other guys, Deontay Johnson was claimed. He was claimed. And I can't get an answer about Odell Beckham. And again, it's totally plausible that it's because teams have just said, nah, we're good. But I don't know why the Ravens would say that. Like, you wanted Deontay Johnson on your team. I can't believe the answer is, well, yeah, but now we got Steven Sims, so wash.
You got Dayton Wade,
What's that?
You got Dayton Wade too. Don't.
All right, they got Dayton Wade as well.
Dayton Wade.
They've got and Anthony Miller, of course.
Yes.
I just can't believe that would be the answer. So I'm befuddled by it. Like, and maybe we hear something today. Maybe it's that, like, teams talk to Odell Beckham and he was like, hey man, call me for the playoffs.
Yeah. But
like he's treating the rest of the regular season like it was but you would think that
you have him in this week, and then
I don't know, dude. I don't know. It is so weird. It is so ungodly weird. So anyway, yeah, that's the deal. That's what's going on with the Ravens. I was going to try to get into the Corbin Burnes stuff in this segment, but we'll do that later on in the show. Steve Johnson's going to join us a little bit later on. We'll get his thoughts. I've got a column coming today about the fallout from Corbin Burnes, and does it matter that the Orioles apparently offered more money than they've ever offered a baseball player to Corbin Burnes? It's a complicated question. It really is. I think that we traipse into the dumbest of the dumb, where we either say, well, they didn't get him, or we say, see, you guys are all a-holes. The Orioles tried to get. It's way more complicated than that. But I try to dive into it for a column that's coming at PressBoxOnline.com today, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on in the show as well. If Cordell can do today, sure. Why not, right. Griffin? Why not? I love Cordell. That's my guy. When we come back in, however, we're going to catch up with our buddy Dan Wilcox and get his thoughts on where the Ravens are headed into Week 18. Griffin, remind everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel.
I would love to. Everyone at Live Casino, every Live Rewards member is getting $7 in free slot play because every time that Baltimore or Washington's football team score a touchdown during home games this season, you are getting $7 in free slot play. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine, any slot machine on the floor, and be actively playing in order to get your prize. But once those touchdowns score, $7 in free slot play. Hopefully you made it out there last night as Washington did score quite a few, and especially in late into the night. So you got some free slot play into the late evening.
Calling heads. Just going ahead and calling heads.
Raheem Morris, he knew Live Casino. He wanted to help Live Casino, all the Live Rewards members out. But yeah, Adirondack Mills must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, Dan Wilcox is next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas's 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and it's our very special Best of 2024 issue. On the cover, we celebrate our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Lamar Jackson, as Bo Smolka profiles what the quarterback means to the community beyond the football field. Also inside, we celebrate the top people, performances, and moments of the year in local sports. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always read the entire issue and find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a remote Monday edition. The remote for me. Griffin went to work today.
So I get paid for both of us now? Is that how?
I don't think that's the way it works, unfortunately.
Then
We can it's a miracle, by the way. You being around my kids.
I know.
And then around me.
Talk about a Cal Ripken streak, all right?
Right? We got to study your immune system, dog. I went through potentially norovirus and COVID in 1 week, and you just sat there like, I'm cool.
My sister wasn't feeling well, so I thought I don't know. I don't know how we didn't get it, I guess. Because my sister wasn't feeling well, so my mom made her go test for strep, and so they tested her for flu and COVID as well.
Yeah.
And she was negative for all three, fortunately. So we're good. I've not, knock on wood, I guess. I've not had any symptoms, and I've been feeling good the last week.
She was 0 for 3, or as we like to call it, the second half Adley Rutschman. Hey, good morning.
There he is. There he is.
I'm here still. COVID couldn't bring me down. Yeah. Anyway, happy to be with you. Really, genuinely happy to be with you. Congratulations to Navy. What a win. We're going to wait, and a lot of times after a big win, we'll try to rush to get somebody on from Navy. We're going to wait. We want to do a season recap conversation with Coach Brian Newberry, and I think he's enjoying some well-deserved time off this week. So as soon as we get the opportunity to, we'll make sure we catch up with him to congratulate the Mids on what was an outstanding season, but great bowl win over Oklahoma down at the Armed Forces Bowl on Friday to wrap up the regular season. I feel really incredibly good for everybody involved with the program. An awesome, awesome win and an incredible season. All right, Ravens getting ready to wrap up the regular season. Our next guest, of course, former Ravens tight end, host of the Believe in Ravens podcast. He is our buddy Dan Wilcox, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Dan, it's Glenn. I hope you and your family had a great Christmas. Always appreciate you taking the time for us, brother.
Glenn, it's always my pleasure to be on, my man. The Christmas was great on our end. I hope it was the same for you guys.
Yeah, we had a rough week, my fam. I got COVID, Dan. I was like, I don't know how I managed to do this. It was a rough Christmas,
Man,
but you know,
man, that's absolutely horrible.
You know what's funny though, Dan? Like, my kids are still the age. I know yours are getting a little bit older. Mine are 9 and 7, and they still like being around me, which actually became a problem when I had COVID this weekend because I had to tell them, get away, like go somewhere else. So it was like the first time that it was ever a bummer that my kids like being around me. Hey, love you, buddy. I know that I have no doubt that if I asked you the question, who should be MVP, you would say Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to ask it instead this way. Would it be a travesty to you if it ends up being Josh Allen?
Absolutely not. Lamar has 2 trophies already. I mean, nobody's trying to be greedy. You know, like spread the wealth, spread the love. Give Josh Allen the MVP trophy for the year. Let us go get this MVP trophy and the MVP of the Super Bowl trophy. He can have that trophy. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, Lamar needs the MVP Super Bowl trophy, not an MVP season trophy. He's got 2 of those.
That's essentially where I am, right? Like, I think Lamar Jackson should be the MVP of the league because I just think he's that much better than everybody else. But to the point, I don't care that much anymore. Like, Lamar Jackson doesn't need an MVP, a third MVP to prove anything. But to your point, there is one thing he needs. He needs to hoist the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season.
Yeah, man, if he can win the Super Bowl, he'll end up with 2 trophies this year versus the 1 MVP trophy that he's collected over the last 7 years. You know, so if he gets to the Super Bowl and win it, he wins the Super Bowl Lombardi Trophy, which is, hell, the 1% of the 1% get a chance to do that. You know, so, I mean, not even 1% of the 1% get a chance to do that. So to be able to get that Super Bowl trophy would be huge. And we both know if we go, Lamar would definitely be the MVP of that game. And if we win it, he's definitely going to be the star of that game. So he'll end up with a Super Bowl MVP trophy and a Vince Lombardi trophy. To me, that trumps any regular season MVP trophy that he'll ever get.
Dan, how much confidence do you have? Look, I know you are typically a glass half full type of guy. That said, this defense was miserable. Like, it wasn't mediocre. It was the worst pass defense in football at one point this season. It's been one of the best defenses in football over the last 6 weeks. I guess first, what do you make of how it's changed? And then 2, how much confidence does it give you that this team is ready to go win a Super Bowl?
I'm really happy. I'm really happy, Glenn, about the changes in the defense and how they're starting to settle in. The way Washington is playing right now, that kid is playing lights out, man. It feels like he was a missing piece we needed all year long. And we've had a bunch of injuries that nobody really accounted for all season, man. So a lot of this stuff has just kind of fallen in Zach Orr's lap, you know, with him being the first-time defensive coordinator. And I really hated that. You know, anytime I see a former player step up into a coaching role and get an opportunity as early as that kid did, you know, to be a DC or OC in this league, I really, really, really wanted to see him win and be successful. So these last 6 weeks have been great to watch. You know, watch his defense evolve, watch these young men go out there and play hard for him and put everything on the line for him, man. But with all the injuries we had this year, that's kind of just really flown underneath the radar because the Ravens are just that good. You know, they just know the defense ain't playing well. Nobody even taking recognition that a lot of the key guys were out. You know, so it's been interesting to watch how the defense have evolved into the defense that they are today. And I just hope it continues going through the rest of this playoff because a lot of this stuff, even on offense and defense, when I look at it, a lot of these stuff are just minor coaching changes or coaching errors that need to be made. You know, a lot of this stuff is not just on the players. You know, the way Brandon Stevens has been playing the ball all year long, that's on Brandon Stevens. You know, it ain't on no coach. You know, he got to be able to turn his head around and find the ball and feel confident enough that he can do that. You know, when you don't feel confident enough that you can get your head around quick enough to find the ball, you tend not to turn and look for it and just try to play the receiver's hands. And that stuff has cost us all season long. And when I'm starting to watch Brandon Stevens at corner, and I'm kind of feeling like he need to move to safety. That's kind of where my mind is right now. Like, move the kid to safety. He's a big body, long body. He will come up and hit you. You know, maybe he'll be a better safety than he would be a corner. Let's get Nate Wiggins out there a little bit earlier and see if we can, you know, get him at the other corner spot, him and Marlon Humphreys, and see if we can make a run for this thing for real, man. But I'm happy with the defense, how they playing right now. I still think we could make some changes and some moves. Sometimes moving guys in positions that where they could be more valuable to you is the key way to go with things.
Well, and add in obviously Tre'Davious White has been incredibly helpful at cornerback as
Yeah.
well, right? Like,
Boy,
boy, for a guy.
when they
I
brought him
didn't.
over, Glenn, I was so happy, man. That first game he played, instant impact, big difference right away, like big difference. Glad he on the team.
Dan Wilcox is with us here on GCR. Dan, with that said, is there anything not unique to matchups, like not external, not hey they would still have to go to Kansas City, or is there anything internal that still concerns you about the Ravens as we get ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think getting comfortable. I think our biggest issue, and I think this goes both with the players and the coaching staff, is just getting comfortable. You know, like when you do well and you do good, and people start patting you on the back, it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, and it makes you feel good, and it makes you relax a little bit. And in this league, you cannot get comfortable. It's nothing about this league say that comfortable is the way to go. So as soon as we start to feel a little bit relaxed, like as soon as we start to think we're good, we just seem to crap down our legs, and I really hate that. I really do hate that, but unfortunately, that's how it is. We need to be the underdog every single week. You know, I don't feel like we need home field advantage at all. Like we need to play every single game on the road, underdog. People yelling at us, throwing trash on the field at us, the whole 9 yards. We need to feel like everybody in the broadcast world need to say that the Ravens suck for us to be like, all right, we got to go show the world. Because every time we have to show people, we will pop out and show people. But as soon as we the top dog, we go in that thing feeling like we the top dog, and I feel like the coaches don't prepare the way they should, the players don't prepare the way they should, and we kind of get knocked off our horse really quick. You know, so that's it for me.
Yeah, no, speaking of comfortable, a lot of people the last couple of weeks noting that Justin Tucker hasn't missed a kick since the bye, and that's included a couple of 50-yard field goals. And you're seeing on Twitter a lot of, oh, Justin Tucker's back and all that sort of stuff. I'm certainly glad that he hasn't missed a kick, but I don't know yet that I would say like that. I feel like a lot of what we saw from early on in the year is still sort of in the back of my mind. I think they did the right thing. I think they didn't have a choice. They needed to ride it out with Justin Tucker, but I don't know yet that I'm ready to declare that like he's Justin Tucker again.
Yeah, to me, you got to ride or die with Justin, man. I don't think you bring anybody else in. I mean, you may bring guys in to work out like you do any other position, and I think every position deserves that. You know, you bring receivers in year-round. You should be bringing kickers in year-round. You bring DBs in year-round, linemen, everybody. And the way the Ravens do it is they bring guys in just to kind of see how healthy they are. You know, they don't bring them in all the time just to sign them. They bring them in to see how the guy moves, how well in shape is he, can he really help us? If one of our key guys go down, can we bring this guy in right away? You know, they already have him on the back burner. You know, so they don't always bring guys in just because they need somebody right now at this moment. They bring guys in year-round just to kind of see if this guy could be a Raven in the future, you know, and if he's healthy enough to be a Raven in the future, you know. So if somebody was to go down last minute, they can make some roster moves and bring this guy up, and hopefully he can play for us right away, you know. And I love that about the Ravens. They're always prepared, and that's why they do so well in the front office. So to me, Justin Tucker is a guy I would have definitely brought kickers in this year, but I definitely would not have replaced him. He's too prolific of a kicker to replace off a couple of missed kicks. You know, 5, 6, 7 missed kicks. I don't know how many it was. Yeah, but whatever it was, you know, it ain't enough to make me want to replace him, you know, within the middle of the season. And the crazy thing, this is how this world runs. You know, coaches, there's no loyalty to players. Franchises, there's no loyalty to players. Players be loyal to franchises all the time, and then when the player don't be loyal to a franchise, it's like the whole world is mad at the player, but the franchises get away with it all the time. You know, so to see a franchise be as loyal as they have been to Justin Tucker, it just makes me love the Baltimore Ravens even more.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Dan, obviously, you know, saying Mark Andrews is good. We've been saying this for a really long time, but Mark Andrews this season has now broken the franchise record for touchdown catches. And there was a point early on this year where some people were wondering if Mark Andrews was washed. And of late, he's looked like absolutely the best version of Mark Andrews. We're at a place now where we're talking about truly like one of the greatest players in franchise history. As someone who understands the position as well as you do, how impressed are you that you know, after facing the adversity that Mark Andrews faced, he's come back to be legitimately as good as he's ever been this season?
I'm happy to see Mark back and healthy, man. Like to have the type of injury that he had, like it had to be a long rehab, extensive rehab, project. And I'm a guy that retired because of a foot injury, and my foot is still killing me. 17 years later, it still bothers me every single day. So to see Mark bounce back the way he have off of that leg injury, the ankle injury that he had, is really, really, really impressive. I mean, it's nothing less than breathtaking. I never thought for a second that he was washed up and that he wasn't going to be the old Mark Andrews of old. It's just, I think when people see something new and shiny and flashy, people want to jump on it right away. Isaiah Likely is that new, shiny, and flashy object that they saw, and they wanted to jump on the Isaiah Likely bandwagon, and they should have. Isaiah Likely is an absolute dog. He's an absolute dog. He's the type of guy that will take your franchise to the next level over the next 5 to 10 years if you're able to hold on to that guy for a long period, extended period of time. I think he's that dynamic, but Mark Andrews is too. And, people love Mark Andrews when he was making play after play after play, but as soon as he got hurt, people forgot about him almost within a year, and he comes back. It's like, we already seen what Isaiah Likely could do. Do we really need Mark Andrews? Hell yeah, you need Mark Andrews. You need Mark Andrews and you need Isaiah Likely. It was, to me, it was the same thing with me and Todd Heap. You needed me and you needed Todd Heap. When Heap got double and triple team, they could throw the ball to me, and then they'll loosen up the stuff for Heap. Now that makes Heap go back to one-on-one coverage. Now you can get the ball to Heap as much as you want again. But as soon as they sleep, now I get the ball again. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you need that 1-2 punch at tight end, and I think they got a hell of a 1-2 duo, man, with the tight end company they have there in Baltimore. They actually got a nice trio. I like Kohler too. I think the Ravens have. Yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
No, I agree with you. I completely agree. Yeah. Like it's almost an embarrassment of riches, right? It
is. They've done a phenomenal job of stacking this team with talent. The type of talent that we have, anything less than a Super Bowl would be disappointing this year. So I feel like the coaches have to get it together. The players got to get it together, and all the cylinders need to start clicking. And it look like it's starting to peak right now at the right time, and that's exactly what we need. The only thing that kind of worries me is we've seen them. It almost like they were starting to peak earlier in the year too, and then they crashed. So you kept getting glimpses of greatness throughout the year. With 5 losses, I kind of hate that we got 5 losses because we could have easily been undefeated this year. But at the same time, it's like, bro, do I really hate it? Like, do we really need those 5 losses to get our asses in check? Like to get our mind right, so that we can go through this thing and play the way we're supposed to play. We had home field advantage throughout last year and lost it. So it's like, man, let's go ahead and go to everybody else's house and let's just play game record this year. Let's go kick ass and bring that trophy home.
Yeah, there's a lot made about, like, maybe there's a similarity between this year and 2012 after 2011, like the adversity that this team has had to face after losing the AFC Championship game. Dan, I'm going to spring this one on you, and if you don't have anything for me, all good. But I know you're a Georgia guy, and we lost maybe the greatest Georgian of all time yesterday in President Jimmy Carter. I just wonder if, like, he meant something in particular to you, and anything that you might have to say about him.
The fact that he's a Georgia guy was that's the only thing that really made me happy about Jimmy Carter. I feel like, him as a president was one of the best presidents that we've had, and I think he did a good job to the nation as far as how he served the nation and stuff like that. But other than that, I've never gotten a chance to meet him, never got a chance to speak to him. Don't really know much about what he's done since he's retired as the president. But I'm wishing him, I'm wishing his family, his loved ones, everybody that was close to him, his kids, wife. I'm wishing them all, man. Just sending them condolences and just wishing them nothing but health and blessings moving forward.
I appreciate that. Truly one of the most special humans that ever lived, and a servant, and someone who meant a lot, even up here with his commitment to Habitat for Humanity. But I appreciate that. Dan, you want to remind everybody real quick about Believe in Ravens?
Absolutely. Please join us and follow us and listen to Believe in the Ravens podcast. It's on every single podcast platform there is, from YouTube to Spotify. We're on all of them, so Apple Music, whatever you want to get on to listen to us. We would love to have you guys as guests, and always a blessing to come on Glenn's show. Glenn does such a great job, man, and I really appreciate you, man. Happy New Year's to you, Glenn, and I hope much success, man, for the show this year and continued greatness.
Dan, I love you, brother. Let's do this again during the playoffs. Thank you as always. Happy New Year to you and your family as well, buddy.
You too, G. Thank you, bro.
It's my guy, Dan Wilcox, with us here on GCR. Look, you guys know we don't do politics on this show, and so I won't do that. I don't have any interest in talking about the political career of Jimmy Carter. But I told a story. When I was 11 years old, my parents' church hosted I want to say it wasn't a trip, it was like a mission week for middle school students to go into Sandtown, Winchester, and serve with Habitat for Humanity. And I didn't know a ton at 11 years old about the impact and the legacy of Jimmy Carter. And being involved with Habitat made me really interested in Jimmy Carter and in the way that like young people get oddly interested in certain topics, right? Like my son did a report about Neil Armstrong and is now like bizarrely interested in Neil Armstrong. Like comes up to me every day with like some new Neil Armstrong fact. Like, hey man, did you know that he went to Purdue? Like, it's just there's something like that like every day. Or if there's a game on and Purdue's playing, he'd be like, Neil Armstrong. I had kind of that weird obsession with Jimmy Carter after the time that I spent with Habitat for Humanity. And I say that I'm bummed that we're not doing the drinking show. I'm really bummed that we haven't been able to do a collection event the way that we have typically done collection events over the years. That's my disappointment. I wanted to do a traditional big night at Chick-fil-A where we just collect all sorts of items, and it just didn't work out. And that, it stings me personally. It does. But that place where people will say to me like, hey, you always seem to prioritize trying to serve and doing the right thing. And I'm like, yeah, it sort of started when I was 11 years old and I worked for a week with the Habitat for Humanity in Sandtown and Winchester. And the example that I learned of Jimmy Carter and being someone who served, whose priority was service. And I'm certainly not Jimmy Carter. I mean, not by any stretch of the imagination. And God, I wish that we all had that type of heart for service. And I'll be eternally grateful for that. And what an incredible human being the former president was. Whatever you feel about his politics, I'm not concerned about that topic. But his heart for service, almost unmatched in American history. So safe home to President Carter, lived an unbelievable life at the age of 100, and joins his wife Rosalind, who had just passed away. It was, it's certainly not a tragedy when someone lives that type of life. It's just an opportunity to reflect and hope that we can continue to live up to that standard moving forward. All right. Today's show is also brought to you by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website. You can find out everything that you've missed from the Governor's Challenge this week. Lots of local teams participating. Every score for every team, every sport, for every high school, public and private, every division throughout the state of Maryland is reported at County Sports Zone, plus rankings and just everything that you could possibly need to know. They've got you covered. CountySports.zone, again, is the website. There was something else that I wanted to get to here that we hadn't talked about yet. We still got to do picks recap later. Oh, Maryland basketball. Yeah, not...
Well, they did what they had to, I guess.
What's that?
They did what they had to, right? I mean,
yeah, they did.
Because they didn't win by 55,
No,
I think bad win.
Here's what I would say the concern is. The concern is that they didn't look sharp coming off a break. And that's the easiest thing to say afterwards is like, well, you can kind of expect this coming off a break. You're just going to come out and be sluggish. Fine, right? Like, I think most analysts, coaches, most everyone would say something like that. Hey, you could probably expect that. Here's the problem. Like, they now have to go across the country. The furthest trip they could possibly make within the continental United States. They can't go be sluggish on Thursday. Like, if they're going to do the things that we're talking about them potentially, if they want to be a top 4 seed, if they want to, like, that type of stuff, the answer can't be that on Thursday night, when they go to Washington, they lost that game because they were sluggish. Because then they got to turn around and play an unbelievably good Oregon team on Sunday. Like, that game, and don't look now, but the game after that at home is against UCLA, who you might have missed it, just beat Gonzaga on Saturday. Like, I don't want to overreact. They did what they needed to do, to your point. They beat UMES. But this is I get that UMES is always really bad. Like, this is, even by UMES standards, a really bad team that had been losing by like 40 points a game. Sluggish can't be acceptable, because sluggish could be the difference in you losing in Seattle on Thursday night and then all of a sudden waking up and you're in a 3-game losing streak. And we're not talking about a team that can be a top 4 seed. We're talking about a team that's fighting to make sure they get in. Now, I don't think that's the most likely scenario, but I think we need to be realistic. We're talking kind of crazy because Maryland's looked really good in certain games. And we'll talk more about it with Patrick Stevens tomorrow. But they have to still go prove that. And no, if they had won by 50 points against UMES, it would not guarantee to me they were going to go out to Seattle and beat Washington on Thursday night. But I think that game is a little bit more tricky and important than people realize. Now, if somehow they go out to beat them and then they turn around and win in Eugene on Sunday, well then, Katie bar the door, man. Like, holy crap. We're going to be talking about can they be a top 2? Like, we're going to get really crazy with this. But I don't know. If the answer was, well, they were sluggish. Okay. They weren't just sluggish to start the game. It's one thing, too, if you start the game and, like, for the first 6 minutes, you're just a little bit off and then you settle in and you take off. They were sluggish again out of the break at half. And, like, I don't know. It was just a kind of concerning performance for me about a team that, again, we've changed our belief in what it is they're capable of accomplishing. So I don't want to overreact to it. Just would have been nicer to have seen a more complete, again, on it when I was sitting at home doing nothing else this weekend, just watching some sports. I watched all of the Maryland UMES game, which was not on my bingo card for 2024, and I would have liked a more solid, complete performance. Yeah. I saw that UMBC played a thriller yesterday.
They did,
right?
Yeah. UMBC only plays bangers, I think. Like, it's going to be like a close game no matter what, or they're, like both they are, or both teams are going to make a bunch of threes, and they're just gonna leave you lighting the scoreboard up. But yeah, UMBC is I feel like they're a fun watch.
Double overtime win at American yesterday. And then, Coppin was competitive. Coppin was actually competitive with Georgetown for a minute on Saturday. Like, it's funny because I had the Fox Sports app on for the Maryland game. And so when that game went to half, I flipped over to see what was going on in the Coppin-Georgetown game, which was elsewhere on the Fox Sports app. And it was 37-30 at the half. And I'm like, oh, Georgetown stinks. Like, maybe. That was not meant to be.
Well, if it's something you want to fight about. I mean, the Maryland women.
They got a nice win over Michigan State.
But of course, no one could watch it, so that's the.
Oh yeah, it was a Big Ten Network Plus.
It was a top 25. What's a top 25 matchup? I mean, how?
I'm with you. I am with you. There should be no Big Ten Network Plus. We've had this conversation.
But good thing we had Indiana and I forget who they were playing on
TV. You're really angry about this. You are. You are genuinely.
Michigan. Good thing everyone got to watch Michigan beat Western Kentucky by 60 yesterday. That's good.
Griffin has a legitimate passion.
Well, just because there were 0 good football games on outside. I mean, I guess there were two.
Yeah,
there were two good NFL games yesterday. Like,
it was an uncompetitive. It was a bad day for those of us that were looking for competitive football. Yeah. Also, not a great day for me for fantasy reasons.
I'm still very much in. It's going to come down to tonight. It looks like for both in both my fantasy championships.
Yeah, I'm still alive in Ryan Ripken's league. I am in the final, and I'm scheduled to lose by 1.2 points. I am a little nervous about the Lions maybe pulling guys. So they say they're going for it tonight, but tonight means nothing.
The one guy they wouldn't pull would be Jake Bates, right? Do you think he's gonna?
Yeah, I would think that he would be fine.
I need a lot from Jake Bates tonight.
So if you're not like the Lions are locked in to this week winner take all week 18 matchup with the Vikings next week at home.
Yeah.
If I'm doing this show in Detroit today, there is no reason why I'm playing Jared Goff for meaningful time tonight. Like, why would I possibly do that and risk him getting hurt knowing you're already locked into your matchup? Now, they're saying publicly all week, we don't care what happens in the Vikings game. We're playing to win tonight. I need Jared Goff. I'm going into tonight up 6, and I have Goff left, but he's got Garendo. Oh, and Jamison Williams. I'm going to need Jared Goff to play and, play the majority of the game and score some points. I'm nervous as hell.
Yeah, I don't think yeah.
I'm nervous as hell that they're just saying all the right things throughout the week. Like, hey, man, we want to play to win. And then today they're going to get together and say, but we're not stupid. We'll let them play to.
But this is a Dan Campbell coach team, So, I mean,
I understand. I understand the point of recklessness. You're right about that. This is a special kind of reckless that we're talking about. To risk Jared Goff getting hurt in an utterly meaningless game. I was trying to do the math. Is there even any seeding
that changes?
Yeah.
I don't think they're 1-5. Yeah, they're both going to be 1-5 no matter. Like the Vikings and the Lions will be 1-5.
Are locked in. Yeah. Winners the 1 seed, losers the 5 seed.
Yeah,
no
hold on.
what.
Pelissero tweeted out the thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
either they're either 1 or 5. Both.
Yep.
Nobody else can be.
100%. So I can't. Why? Why would you? I that's how I'm going to end up losing. I'm going to end up losing because I didn't think about the possibility of that.
Well, I'm going to end up losing because CeeDee Lamb got hurt. That didn't help me. But also because I didn't realize that Terry McLaurin retired yesterday.
Yeah,
before
really weird bit.
He made one catch and then he left. He left the stadium.
Well, and then Bijan Robinson was murdering the Commanders so much that the Falcons said, "Nah, we're good. We don't." Why don't you just check out at halftime?
I wish he would have checked out earlier because that's another reason I'm probably going to lose. So I'm down by 5. I have Jake Bates, and he has Kittle. So it feels like I think
all right, when we come back in, our buddy Cordell Woodland, 105.7 The Fan. We're going to talk to him about both the Ravens and where the Orioles go post Corbin Burnes. That's next on Clark Radio.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
The top high school basketball talent from across the country returns to the Wicomico Civic Center December 26th through 30th for the Governor's Challenge presented by Pohanka of Salisbury. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams from 16 states plus Canada. Multiple top 10 teams and nationally ranked players will display their talents on the court. Don't miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named number 1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR. If you have not picked up our Best of 2024 print issue of Press Box yet, make sure you get out and do that today. It is our most important issue every year. On the cover, we celebrate our Mogaba Sports Person of the Year. Very controversial selection this year. We went with Lamar Jackson as our Mogaba Sports Person of the Year. And also inside, a great cover story from Bo Smoka, all about what Lamar means beyond the football field to the city and the identity that he's given to a generation of Ravens fans. And then also inside, we celebrate the top people, performances, and moments of 2024 as the year comes to a close. Go pick up that print issue today for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at pressboxonline.com/bestof. Of course, hotly debated, is it Lamar Jackson? Is it Josh Allen for NFL MVP? Now here to make some cockamamie argument about why it should actually be Jaden Daniels. He is our buddy, 105.7 The Fan, Mr. Cordell Woodland with us now here on GCR. Go ahead, Cordell. Do your best. Try your best to make that cockamamie argument.
Hey, look, man, I'm not here to stare people the wrong way. I don't want to come off as some zany guy, some lunatic. I'm not saying Jaden is MVP yet. But what I will say is, watching him, he fits the description of most valuable player, because where would the Commanders be without him? But no, I'm not ready to say he should be an MVP this year.
Well, he's great. There's no question about that. He's an exceptional football player, and they are extraordinarily fortunate to have him in D.C. There's no doubt about that. I'll pose it to you this way, Cordell. Like, where do you come in neutrally in the MVP conversation, and then added to it, is it a travesty to you if it goes one way or the other?
Well, I'll start with the last part. No. I don't think it is a travesty right now, because I think both of these guys are MVP caliber players. They're having MVP caliber seasons, and you could easily say that if you take each of those guys off of their team and don't replace them with each other, then yeah, most likely they're not in the same position that they're in now. And I kind of laugh when I hear people say, well, Lamar has Derrick Henry in his backfield. This isn't the first backfield Derrick Henry has been a part of. And yet we have never talked about Derrick Henry's quarterbacks or any of his other teammates being MVP caliber players. And this would be Lamar's third MVP. So it is laughable when I hear people make it seem like Lamar's only doing this because he's with Derrick Henry, as if we haven't seen Lamar be at the top of the league before. That's kind of nonsense to me. But I also think that people that are kind of knocking down Josh Allen and making it seem like he isn't worthy of the award, you kind of have to, look at those people sideways too, because the same argument that Josh Allen has going for him this year, Lamar had that last year. He didn't have the numbers, but yet he was the one elevating his team. He was the one beating all these big-time teams in the league when he got the opportunity to. So Josh has definitely earned the MVP. But if I had a vote right now, it'd be hard for me not to vote for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it's tough, right? And some of that is we watch him every week, like, and we just see how like inhuman he is. Like he's just, and the best way that I say it is I think that whenever Lamar Jackson plays football, he's the most valuable player because he's the closest thing that we have to Shohei Ohtani in another sport. Like he is the closest thing to doing things that other human beings aren't capable of. But that doesn't mean that Josh Allen hasn't had an exceptional season. I'm with you. I think Lamar Jackson is the most valuable player in the National Football League. I think it's kind of silly if the answer ends up being that, hey, well, he's won it twice, so let's just give it to somebody else, and that's why people vote for him. But I also kind of expect that's what's going to happen. And I don't think it's the end of the world if that's the case. I can disagree politely and say Lamar's got bigger fish to fry. His, legacy is not going to be defined by how many MVPs he wins. He's handled that part of it. Like, he's done the thing. If you win 2 MVPs, you're in the Hall of Fame. Like, that's the way that it's worked throughout history. He's there. Now it's about checking the other box, and that's the one that clearly is more concerning at this point.
Yeah, I mean, but make no mistake about it. I think it would be incredibly damning to the award if the narrative out there is that Josh Allen won the award because he didn't get one yet, and Lamar has 2. Like, what are we doing here? This isn't Boys and Girls Club football. Like, we're not just handing out awards. We're talking about the NFL MVP. That you need to earn it. I said the same thing with the NBA with Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. How you going to if you're tired of this guy winning MVP, then somebody else go outperform him. Somebody else go take the award. Take the award. Don't just give it to him. And Josh Allen, again, I don't think he needs that argument because he's having an MVP season. So the people like Tony Romo and these guys that are on TV saying openly that they think Josh should get it because Lamar's got 2 and he hasn't had one yet, that's disgusting to me. I'm not going to lie to you. That irks me more than any other argument out there because these are grown men playing at the highest level, and we're talking about giving them an award. Come on.
Let's just make everybody MVP. We'll just split it 5 ways. If you're good, let Sam Darnold have MVP. Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
Cordell, what actually concerns you still about this football team? Not, again, internally. So remove the external that they probably are going to have to go to Buffalo and would have to go to Kansas City after that. Because those things, obviously, those are difficult places to win playoff games. But just internally, what might still concern you about the Ravens in the context of trying to win a Super Bowl?
I'll say 2 things. The penalties are still going to be a concern because they have been there more times than not. Now, I'll give them credit. They have done really well with the penalties here after the bye week. So you hope that continues, and I think it's obvious that's a part of the reason why they're on this 3-game win streak. Less penalties. They're not beating themselves as much. They're not erasing splash plays. They're not extending drives. That's a huge boost for them. Number 2 would be them. Can they do it? Can they do it? Can they do what they haven't done to this point? We've seen them get to the AFC Championship game. We've seen them. Granted, they hosted all of those postseason games and they got the first round bye. That won't be the case this year, but it's looking like maybe they'll get one home game and they'll take that for sure. But just can they do it? It's not about how good Buffalo is and how good Kansas City is or whatever. It's just, can the Ravens do it? That remains to be seen right now. I think they can, but I've thought that they could for a while now and they haven't done it. So it's now, can they go out there and actually show us, themselves, all these people that have been feeling like they could do it, can they actually show that they will do it? That's the last box for me to check with those guys because they're as good as anybody. I think that they could beat anybody in the league. And on any given day, they're the best team in the league. So, yes, I do think that they have what it takes, but it's just about will they put it all together.
I think it's incredibly fair. Cordell Woodland is with us here on GCR. I would add into the one other thing that jumps out to me internal is putting the ball on the turf, right? Like they've been fortunate that they haven't lost them with as much frequency, but I still have a concern about that like somebody would say fumbles aren't predictive, right? Like and maybe they're not, but my gut tells me you keep doing it, you're going to lose more of them than you've been getting back recently.
No doubt. I mean, it's a numbers game after a while, and you don't ever want to put the ball on the field. And a lot of them have come on the punt return, just them not catching the ball cleanly. And they put some on the ground on offense too, and like you said, been fortunate to get most of these back here recently. But you're kind of just hoping that that's not going to be something that goes into the postseason. I don't necessarily think that it will. I would be more concerned about some of these the turnover issues potentially if they're coming from Lamar. If he's throwing them, or if we're seeing somebody specifically offensively that's continuing to put the ball on the ground. Now, it is slightly concerning that the last two return guys that they've had before Steven Sims were putting the ball on the ground. Yeah. Steven Sims, he has the background, so he knows how to be back there. Hopefully he kind of solidifies that. I think it tells you a lot that his first day there, he's the starting punt returner. But yeah, I would imagine that that's not going to be an issue going forward.
What do you make of the fact that we don't have an answer, like that Odell Beckham is unemployed at the moment? Do you sense that means the teams are sort of saying we're good, we're not in a rush to do this, or is he not in a rush? Like to me, this seemed like no-brainer-ish for the Baltimore Ravens to be in on Odell Beckham. I am befuddled by the fact that we're sitting here on December 30th and he's tweeting about how much he loves the Ravens and isn't a Baltimore Raven.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to say I'm the most surprised. Now, if Rashard Bateman's injury had been more serious and Bateman needed to miss time, then maybe, we're having a different conversation. And maybe he's on the team at that point. But I think with Bateman showing that he's healthy and Bateman producing at the level that he is, they felt like they're okay. And I think that they look at Isaiah Likely as kind of that third receiver, that hybrid type of player a little bit. And I just think Odell, it's tough to bring anybody in at this point in the season and expect anything out of them. Granted, Odell will have the benefit of being a part of this offense last year, so it'd be less catch up for him. But I just feel like Odell's done. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he's done. Just watching him in Miami, it took him a while to get going out there. And even if you listen to some of the things that he said in some of his interviews, he kind of let it be known like, I'm here because they're paying me. It's not that he said I could be doing anything else. I don't have to be here. I'm here because they really wanted me here. So I don't know how much he really wants it. I think he'd love to be a part of this run. Don't get me wrong, but I think for them, they just feel like they don't need to make that move right now.
I hear you. Everything that you're saying, I hear you. I would say the caveat to me would be, one, I would like Odell Beckham as an insurance policy more than I like Anthony Miller as an insurance policy, right? Like, with no disrespect to Anthony Miller, who I was extraordinarily high on coming out of the draft a few years back. And then two, it just didn't seem like he ever had that attitude in Baltimore, right? Like it just seemed like when he was here, he was genuinely happy to be here. And so and you might very well be right that he's just like whatever at this point. But man, he seemed like he really loved being in Baltimore, despite the fact the ball wasn't coming his way a ton.
No, I think he did. I think that's a fair thing to assume. And like I said, I think Odell would like to be a part of this run. I think he'd jump at the opportunity. But I just, I don't know how much. And look, I don't think Rashard Bateman would feel threatened by Odell walking through those doors today. But I think last year, and I don't know, it's not like Bateman has said anything to me, but just confidence-wise, I don't think Rashard Bateman was the most confident when Odell Beckham was here in terms of how he played. I think he felt threatened a little bit, and the competition factor was was not necessarily, there for Bateman, who suffered with injuries at times. So did Beckham. But it just seemed like they pushed Beckham ahead of Bateman in the depth chart last year, whereas this year Bateman hasn't had to look over his shoulder. He's been able to play free. I don't know. I'm not saying that's the reason to not bring him here. I think Beckham would definitely be welcomed in that locker room. And I was actually pleasantly surprised with how good of a cover Odell Beckham was last year and how good he was for that locker room.
All right, Cordell, we'll switch over to the other side. I attempt to tackle this topic in a column today at PressBoxOnline.com. How much does it matter that the Orioles were reportedly willing to spend more money than they've ever spent in franchise history to try to sign Corbin Burnes? Because while it's easy to say it doesn't because they didn't get him, I don't think the answer is that it doesn't matter at all. Like it has to matter somewhat. I just don't know how much it matters because they didn't get Corbin Burnes.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter a lot, and it's not necessarily just because of Burnes. It's because of the total package of this lackluster let's just call it what it is. It's been a lackluster, boring off season to this point. It just has been, and I think it's that kind of being almost the cherry on top. It's still plenty of time before we get to spring training for them. And look, I've long thought that most of their big-time acquisitions were going to come through trade. So I'm not necessarily surprised that they aren't winning bidding wars with the Dodgers and the Yankees and Burnes leaves. I mean, it was kind of the best-kept secret that Burnes was gone, after last season. So I don't think anybody's necessarily surprised, disappointed, sure. But I thought when I read Nightingale's tweets that he was saying Boston was the AL East team that
John
outbid it.
Heyman was the one that came in behind and said that the Orioles had been willing to spend more money than they've ever spent in franchise history in order to get Corbin Burnes, that they made that
So,
offer.
like, what does that mean exactly? Like, what does that mean? Like, okay, sure, it's the most money they have been ready to spend, but this has been granted in the 90s and stuff, sure, they were blowing dough, but obviously that number isn't where it is today.
Yes, the standard to this point would be the Chris Davis contract, right?
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, sure, I guess by their standards, all right. But again, is that an effort for something that they already knew wasn't going to happen? I don't know. I'm not privy to those conversations, but I will say for me personally, it doesn't do a whole lot to hear that because now you need results. Because Glenn, what are we doing? I mean,
it's weird,
more,
Cordell, because I think what I come to is it would mean more to me if I had learned that in mid-November, right? Like if in mid-November you find out that the Orioles were willing to spend $200 million on Corbin Burnes, and you say, well, then they've got $200 million to spend. Turn around and go get Max Fried, go make it happen. But now, what are you doing? Like, was it that you were only willing to spend money on Corbin Burnes for some reason? That I get that he's a good one to spend money on. Like he is. He's been durable and you got to know him and he was a solid person and all of those things. But like you're still in the position that you're in pitching wise. You're not spending $200 million on Nick Pivetta. Like that's not the way that it's going. Which doesn't mean that you shouldn't go as I get to in the column. Like I still think they need to go take a chance on these lesser guys because they still need more pitching.
Yeah.
But I'm torn. I think it's a positive that they were willing. But to the point, it doesn't change the predicament that they're in.
No, it doesn't. And look, I'm not hitting the panic button yet. I'm not saying that time's up. It's still time for them to do things. But yes, it's been disappointing to this point, and it does bear the question to start looking at the front office because it's been a couple of dud trade deadlines. It's been, quiet off seasons outside of the Burnes deal. Like, yes, don't get me wrong. Mike Elias and these guys have done a great job building this team up, building up the farm system and acquiring all this talent and hitting on all these draft picks. You got to give them their credit for that. But at some point, you got to know when to go into the next phase. And what is that? What does that next phase look like? If we're in it right now, I don't like it. I don't like it because it just seems like they're plateauing. And sure, some of these young guys on the team can get better, but you got to find a way to improve the team somehow because you got to win a playoff game at some point.
Look, what I come to is go trade for Dylan Cease and then offer him the Corbin Burnes money, right?
Right.
Then we can have that conversation about whether or not there's been some liftoff. Cordell, are we hearing you this week over on the Fan?
Yeah, you'll be hearing me tonight. I'll be on tonight before Monday Night Football from 6 to 7:30. So Ravens back on the practice field at 3:30 today. Harbs talking at 5. So I play some of that audio, react to the games this weekend, and start to look ahead to Saturday as the Ravens try to win the AFC North yet again.
At Cordell Woodland is how you follow him. Brother, appreciate you. Happy New Year. Let's talk soon, all right?
Yes, sir. Happy New Year.
It's Cordell Woodland, 105.7 The Fan. From one man that didn't reach the finals of our fantasy football league to another man who didn't reach the finals of our fantasy football league, we bring in our buddy Steve Johnson, who's back with us now here on GCR. Hey, pal, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Steve and I were trying to fix the world last night on Twitter. We were trying... There was more agreement than I think you and I have ever... Actually, you and I tend to agree on a lot of things. That's not true. We are pretty agreeable, I think, over the years, haven't we been?
I mean, there's a couple things I think we don't agree on.
Yeah. There's one in particular that does stand out significantly. There's one in particular that is part of Steve's identity that I would say we don't agree with particularly. And the list of like baseball, family, Taylor Swift, rank those three things for you in terms of what makes up your identity.
I mean, she's 3. But
I'm not sure that's true. I don't know if I believe that.
I mean, I don't know. I've been a fan since she came out with an album. I was with a bunch of Texas guys when I got drafted, and she came out with that album, and it was just on. So I don't know. It was good. It was on all the time. I followed her, and I don't know. She's one of the biggest stars in the world. So I think she's doing okay with it.
Yeah, she's fine. All right. Now, what we did settle last night, we settled that we are in agreement. These 5-yard penalties that give everybody an automatic first down, it's insanity. I have no idea how it ever became a thing. As we saw last night, like what was it, 3rd and 30 or something like that for the Commanders, somehow turning into a free first down. Not the reason, because there's lots of other reasons why the Falcons yacked that game up last night, but
of course,
the Commanders were doing nothing. They were about to punt the ball away again, and this is just the gift of all gifts to give them a first down in a 3rd and 30 situation. We agree wholeheartedly. There is no world where a 5-yard penalty should be an automatic first down, correct?
Agreed.
So we're 1 for 1, right? Like we were off to a good start.
We were doing so well.
Right? We were solving the world's problems. Things were going well. We actually were 2 for 2 in trying to solve the world's problems because this conversation began with a different issue that you and I were fixing. And again, I thought we were doing a great job of fixing this issue, which is the overtime thing is insane.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I don't mind the overtime rules now that if you go and score a touchdown, at least that's, hey, you got to go down and score. But I'd never understood why it went down to 10 minutes. I mean, even if they stopped them last night and they kicked a field goal, they would have been down to like 2 minutes, and they would have had to probably take some timeouts to keep it at 2 minutes, and they would have had to have a 2-minute drive to go and possibly win it. I'm like, why not keep it at 15? If you're going to give both teams a chance, possibly, why not just keep it at 15 minutes? That way you at least give both teams an equal chance. Now you're still making it difficult for the other team. Like, you're giving them the chance, but you're still making it difficult for them to possibly get the ball back and score. And you're maybe leading to more ties, which was what we didn't want in the first place.
In this country, we don't do ties. Like, I get that in Europe, it's part of their identity in sports, right? They do ties. That's part of soccer. It's part of they accept it.
I do think that minor leagues should end in ties at 9 innings.
Ooh.
Or maybe 10.
Ooh,
I don't think in the big leagues, they always get replenished.
Mm-hmm.
Someone can get moved up,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times in my experience, they didn't move up enough, or you could lose a starter because the starter gets moved up. So now you have a bullpen game. The game goes 9 innings. It's tied. They're not replenishing your bullpen or trying to do it, reasonably quick and now you put all those guys at risk again the next day. So,
But minor leagues went to the ghost runner rule too, correct?
I think so, but I just think it
Okay.
should, like, why? What are we doing? Just end it in a tie. No one really cares about making the league playoffs and the minors.
Okay. Yes, I know you're right about that. I would make the argument still for the fans and attendance. This is a unique American.
They want to get to the fireworks.
That's also true. That is actually a really good point. That's the reason why they're there to begin with. If
they want to get to the fireworks,
you know what? You're not wrong.
They get 9 innings and maybe 10. Give them 10 innings, and most of the time it'll end, sure. But call it a tie. You work the tie system like another system, and you still make the playoffs a certain way, but you save pitching. It doesn't go into 13 or 14 innings. No chance to do that.
All right, I would tell you that my kids would not be okay with this scenario. Like if I took them to a Bowie Bay Sox game and we got after 9 innings and they were like, the game's just ended, my 9-year-old would be furious. No, somebody's got to win this game. So that would be difficult.
Home team wins then.
You know what? I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Give them or whoever has more hits gets to be the winner of that game.
There you go.
Something like that. I'm good with that. All right, look at us. Look at us.
Agreements.
Who would have thought? Then we got to the one that was problematic. We got to the one where I knew it was going to happen eventually. And the funny thing is you listed out you have qualms with other rules in other sports that you brought up. I never knew the way that you felt. Walk me through your issue with the drop third strike.
It's a strikeout. What's the last part of that word?
Out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, also if that run gets on base and they happen to score, it's an earned run.
Oh, I don't think I knew that. That's an earned run?
Yes.
Because the catcher dropped the ball.
Unless it was a passed ball, because then that would be an error. But if you throw it in the dirt and he tries to block it and can't, or olays it, that's an earned run if he gets on and scores. Now, I'm just like, how can he score? He struck out. Out. It's the last part of that word.
I have never given this any thought. So this is the first time because I would tell you this to me is like the other issue that we dealt with. I have Stockholm syndrome myself, and they're just saying I'm used to it. It's what I've known, so I've never given any. Obviously, you, for professional reasons, would be far more impacted by this than I ever would be.
I have multiple earned runs from drop third strikes,
and it would make sense. The point that you're making is relevant, which is in every other scenario, if the ball gets past the catcher but you swung at it, it's a strike.
Yep. And if there's a guy on base with there's a certain circumstances where the drop third strike doesn't matter. They can't advance. So it's a situational. It's like only a certain situation, part of baseball. Same thing with the delay of game in hockey. When they try and clear the puck and it goes over the net.
Oh, yeah.
It's like if it happened in a certain other part of the ice, it's fine. But in the back part, it's a 2-minute penalty. That is a pretty heavy penalty. Pretty heavy penalty.
It's also difficult because hang on a second. First, I want to give you credit. You've won me over on the baseball one. You have won me over on getting rid of the drop thirds. I am with you. That's a strike. You're out.
But what's it supposed to mean? What's it for? Like, what would you say the drop third strike is for?
Is it for they want more runners on base? Like they're trying to
I think it's so that they can't maybe throw the nastiest pitches in the world and just expect them to be able to catch it and get rewarded for it. So there's some sort of consequence, like in a different situation that we've talked about.
Okay. But again, why does the batter get the advantage? Why are we going advantage hitter in that situation?
I can agree with it there.
How have they earned the right to have the advantage? Again, I guess what you're saying is the reward is an out, so it needs to be harder.
I mean, they don't get rewarded. They still get a strikeout in the book. So it's not like they're getting the hit. It's just the offense as a whole.
Right.
Gets a runner on base.
This is an interesting one because I was a big proponent of getting rid of the what's the second base thing? What do we call it? Where you weren't actually touching second base.
Oh, like the phantom.
Yeah. But there was
Yeah.
what is the word that I'm looking for? Like there's an actual my brain. It's COVID. I got COVID, Steve.
I'm saying it's. I haven't thought about that in a while. So
Anyway, the neighborhood play. That's what they
Yeah.
called it, right? I was in favor of getting rid of it because a double play is supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy to get 2 outs on one play. Like the benefit is you're getting 2 outs. It's not supposed to be make your life easier. It's supposed to be hard.
I agree, but I have another thing. I think you should be able to assume a double play. It should be up to the scorekeeper's discretion.
To say that this ball was hit, anybody would have turned this double play. Yeah.
It's not. I think like if there's a rocket shot to the third base or the first baseman, whatever it is, the shortstop, and he hands it to the second baseman has all day and just airmails it,
drops the ball. Oh, okay. Yeah,
that should be scorekeeper's discretion of he should have made that throw, but instead it's not assumed that you can get that out, even though that guy might have been out by a mile. You can do scorekeeper's discretion on so many other things, but that's where we draw the line.
Are we going to be able to retroactively make you like an all-star in 2012? Is this what we're like going to go back?
No, believe me. Believe me. But
end up
I'm just talking about, earned runs. It's like there's certain times when you're like, that was an absolute rocket. The guy wasn't even running. And the second baseman just nonchalant just threw the ball away. He had all the time in the world. No one was even running. And you can't assume that double play. You can't assume that second one.
I'm going to give you credit for this one as well. I think you're right.
I'm a little better. I'm a little better on the baseball ones, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have a lot more experience in that department. To me, the puck one is tough because there are definitely times where someone is just trying to get rid of the puck. Like they're desperately just trying. And I don't know how you go back and try to do an intent thing for officials. Like whenever we try to have officials determine intent, it goes poorly. Yeah. So I know you're right in theory, but I also know I did used to have a team. I was a huge Coyotes fan, so it's a very sad time in my life. I'm a hockey free agent. If anybody has any suggestions, I have seen enough instances of a team purposely trying to like get the puck out of trouble that
that's more of a harshness of the rule. Where I was relating it.
Okay. That's the similarity you and
that's kind of more of it's a harsh penalty. I mean, a power play in hockey that's
it's huge, right?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's not a soccer PK, like it's not that, but it's
right.
It's as close. We don't see, there's no comparable. There's never a situation where you sign up for 5-on-4 in basketball like that. We would never do that. We would never say, "Hey, for
that would be like the backcourt violation. You got to take the guy off for a minute."
Wow, wow. Yeah, you're right. You're right that it's harsh. Maybe there should be an in between. Maybe it's 1 minute on the penalty.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, you're on to something, but I'm not ready to go all in on getting rid of it. Where Steve and I, so again, we're recapping. Steve and I just started a podcast on Twitter last night is really what happened. We started Let's Fix Sports, the new podcast between Glenn Clark, Steve Johnson, Fixing Sports. Where we ended up going south is the one that you guys know that I feel the strongest about, which is the absurdity of giving possession to the other team on a fumble through the end zone. Now, I think we ultimately worked to a place where we could come to some amicable agreement and still be gentlemen about all of this. And I don't have to hate you eternally, which I don't want to do, but I'm willing to do, in the name of being right. I get that you don't, that it can't just be that we can say, hey, it has to be a change of possession. Like that, it is so absurd that we have made it change of possession. Like
you don't have possession when you lose the ball, though.
I understand that, but you don't have possession when you fumble the ball out of bounds at the 40-yard line. But it's a different place. Back.
You can't score by crossing the 40-yard line.
Well, Lamar Jackson can.
No, you can't score if he's going down at the 40-yard line.
I understand what you're saying. I totally get it.
It's a special place.
It's a special place.
There's certain areas on the field
that this is holier. You're doing the holy part.
If think about what if the guys that when they're holding the ball and they seem to want to just drop it instead of holding on to it, and the ball just goes out of the end zone after they drop it at the 1, and it just rolls in and trickles, and they lose the touchdown because they dropped it too early. Should they just be rewarded with putting that ball where they dropped it?
I don't think it's a reward. They're still losing the touchdown. Like, they don't get the touchdown in the process.
Okay, but you want to put him back at the 1. I don't agree with that.
I want to put it. I want to say for the other team to get the ball, they should have to get the ball. Like, the idea that we just give the ball to the other team when they did nothing, that doesn't
They may have caused him to fumble.
They might have caused them to fumble, or this player might have just fumbled all on his own.
That happens all the time anywhere else in the field, though.
I agree with that.
The ball.
But they don't necessarily lose the ball.
No?
Yeah.
My thing is that my other argument to this, as I was thinking about it, because I knew we were probably going to talk about it, all the other penalties and areas of the field are so offensive rewarding that there has to be maybe some sort of penalty for the defense that is kind of harsh for the offense. You get spot penalties for pass interference. How many times 40-yard pass interference in the end zone, or pass interference at the 1st or at the 1-yard line, they get it at the 1. The automatic first downs on 3rd and 20, or the terrible roughing the passer calls where someone's literally just trying to put their hand up to block the ball that he's passing, and he happens to just hit his head
glance, right? And
for 15 yards and a first down. There's so many penalties that reward the offense, and not many that go against the defense like that. To where, okay, you get down there, you better hold on to the ball.
So I've heard this argument.
That's fair.
So I'm not saying there's nothing to it, but again, change of possession is wild, Jack. Like, that is a wild thing you don't have to do anything and you can win possession of the football. It goes too far. The argument that you make, and I've heard from other people, that maybe it's not change of possession, but it's booting them back to the 20 or the 25-yard line, again, in order to give something to the defense, is one that I'm willing to listen to. I don't believe it's necessary, because I still think that it's incongruent that if you fumble at the half-yard line, it's so wildly different than if you fumble a half-yard later.
But what if the ball goes through the end zone? What's it called?
Through the back of the end zone, you mean?
Yeah. Or any part of the end zone. It doesn't have to be the back.
Well, I do think
it's a touchback.
Right. That's what in that scenario, they've made it a touchback.
In almost every scenario, other than the kick. So what if how about the safety on the other end? Would they just get the ball back?
You're saying if a team fumbles the ball through their own end zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always made that. We've accepted
That's a safety,
that.
Right?
Yeah, a safety, 100%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just switching it,
You're saying that this is a similar argument to a safety. You're just not doing the 2 points in the same process. It's an interesting.
Where it's the bad snap, fumbles it over his head, they have to kick it out of bounds. You just get it right back to where you fumbled it. Or and let me give it to you. Is it just because it's your own end zone now that you're doing that too, so it's a reward for the defense?
No, this is the first time you've presented something that I've actually had to think about. All right? Like, I'm going to give you credit for this. I actually have to think about this now for a second. That we have treated it because it's your own end zone, you have to be more defensive of it, and it's different. But the difference between being tackled in the end zone or the other team did nothing, you're making an argument. The other team did nothing. You screwed up, and yet you're giving them 2 points and the ball.
Both of them reward the defense.
Yes.
And so, but yeah, the only thing is that it is your end zone that you're kind of technically defending instead of the other team's end zones, but still, they both kind of resolve.
They had to do something in order to pin you back there. That's, I think, what the difference would be. They had to do something to get you into that position.
Maybe.
Whether that's that they punted and pinned you down there, or they came up with an original defensive play in order to get the. Yes,
Maybe.
you could. Yes, to your point, you could create a scenario where you had 3 bad snaps in a row, and you on your own went from the 27 to the 2-yard line or whatever. Like, I hear you that it's possible there's a scenario, but in every reasonable scenario, they had to do something to pin you back into that situation, and they should be rewarded for it. That's where I think it does become different than the opposing end zone, which is they did the exact opposite. They let you march down the field. They did
Or you
nothing.
just had a bad pass interference call that went 50 yards.
Well, how about we fix that instead? How about we fix that and prevent
I
it
think
from
once
happening?
you start fixing that, then maybe you can
then we're in a
not
different
giving
place.
a huge reward for the defense.
All right, what are we dealing with in episode 2 of Let's Fix Sports? What's the next thing?
I don't know. I don't know. We might be on this one for a while.
Did we just blow everything in episode 1 of Let's Fix Sports? I actually am very compelled by this idea. We have to consider whether or not there's an actual podcast here that would be worthy of spending some time with. All right, I got you. I was just talking about it with Cordell. Does it matter that the Orioles apparently made a $200 million plus offer to Corbin Burnes, even though they didn't get him?
Yeah, I would think so. If that was the case, then they gave it a shot. I didn't think, knowing that he was a West Coast guy, I think when you have an option, you have the chance to choose where you go after years of not being able to. I think that makes a big deal. And yeah, I think he was kind of always going West Coast. I think they would have had to overpay to get him to stay here. So I think it's a big deal if that's true. But now it's kind of at that time where there's not a lot left, and
that's the
they
problem,
might have to make
right?
a trade.
Like that. So what you're saying is, if in November that had been the story, if John Heyman reports in November, hey, the Orioles outbid the Diamondbacks for Corbin Burnes, then you're like, oh yeah, hell, just turn around and go get Max Fried, go spend that money on the next guy, right? Like, it's not the end of the world. To the point, like, you're not spending that money on Andrew Heaney or one of these 40-plus-year-old pitch. Not to say that I'm opposed. I'm not even telling you that I would say no to Verlander or one of these Scherzer, one of these guys. But you're not spending that money on those guys. So what becomes the best case scenario for you now? Like, how does this team go from where they are at the moment to a team that viably you believe can contend for a World Series?
Yeah, I think if they did it once, they might find the next scenario that they want to do it again. And maybe that scenario hasn't popped up yet. Maybe there's a reason why they didn't go after those guys, or they didn't think the guys that have already signed were worth what they got, which is another thing. So maybe they kind of piece together a smaller signing, which I know no one wants to hear about. But
could it be Flaherty? Could it be like what do you?
I don't know if that relationship was great the first time around, but it could be. But then you get into is that deal that he's going to get worth the money that you want to spend? Or you have the thing is you have these guys. I know it's the core of this team is going to be there for a decent amount of time, and they've already made one signing. It's not a huge signing, but it is something that shores up the rotation a little bit. They have some guys who proved themselves last year. Obviously they want that big guy, and they still have the opportunity to trade for him. I mean, I don't think they made the trade for Burnes until like February last, so there's still time to do something with all the prospects that they have. But these guys are also going to be, who's going to be available next year? Who are they going to be able to maybe get at the trade deadline if they don't make a move before that? They're going to get Bradish back at some point. Hopefully he can, regain his form that he had, a couple of years ago. So there's time to do things, and it doesn't all have to be right now. And I think that they have proved that they have a squad that's good enough to kind of at least be one of the top teams in the league without a top guy right now.
So it's funny because we were having a conversation a couple weeks ago about, like, do they need an ace or do they need bulk pitching, right? Because, like, you would argue the Dodgers, Yamamoto maybe is close to an ace, but he's not a traditional ace. They really did it with bulk pitching, and I get it. They're in a world where they can spend more money even on their bulk pitching, the guys that aren't aces. To me, the best case scenarios at this point are you make a trade for Cease and then spend the majority of the Burnes money and lock up Cease, and then it's kind of a best of both worlds scenario. Like, not only did you get the guy, but now you can turn around to the fan base and say, and we're committed to spending the money, and we spent the money on a guy that we think is worthy of it. But, like, the Bryce Miller one is the one that I keep, like, looking at his numbers from last year and being like, dude, is this guy an ace? Like, is he legitimately... We just don't realize it yet because he's only done it for 1 year. Like, the numbers from last year were effing bonkers. and they have to get some offense in Seattle. I don't know what the price would be. My guess is they would say it's got to be Kobe Mayo, and that's really tough to do. But I don't know, man. Like I keep staring at his numbers from last year and being like, maybe this guy is the guy. Like he might be one of the best pitchers in the American League, and we're just not talking about it because he doesn't have the name some of these other guys do.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I just think at some point you're gonna have to get rid of some of these prospects. You're gonna have to part ways with them, especially if they continue doing what they're doing with the drafts that they're gonna have. And what they've done so far is that they've proven that they can replenish. Obviously, it's not guaranteed, but I think at some point, why not make a big trade like that? And the thing is, just looking at the trade deadline last year, the value that teams are putting on guys is also absurd. So as much as you want to get these guys, some of the trades last year on what people had to give up to get the top guys, or even some guys who were just a step below the top guys, was a very, very high prospect level. And that's why I think the Orioles didn't make the trades that everyone wanted them to make because of that.
They made they got Trevor Rogers, dog. What are you talking about?
Well,
the Zach Eflin trade has worked out.
Even what we had to give up as an Oriole fan to get him.
Yep.
And obviously it didn't work out. I mean, that didn't work out last year. Could still work out in the future to have that depth. But still, that was high value for that. And
the one other thing I still think they have to whatever they do as far as acquiring starting pitching, I'm really stunned they haven't done more with the bullpen, right? Like I really am flummoxed by what the strategy has been. They've lost from their bullpen that they needed to add to. Like it's almost bizarre to me that, and I get that maybe it hasn't, like most of the arms are still on the market and maybe it's just waiting for the market to set itself, but I really expected them to be far more aggressive in the bullpen.
I agree. I think that's where they need more of that veteran presence. And like you said, maybe they're waiting for things to kind of calm down a bit and for guys to kind of maybe they've offered a bunch of guys and it's a two-way street that they haven't accepted it yet. So we'll see. I do think that they probably need way more of a veteran presence to go along with anything that happens in the bullpen, because I think that they did a good job the last 2 years in kind of piecing things together and having different guys do the job. And I think that they could probably use a little bit of help to have just more experience on the back end.
All right, you're making baseball players or better baseball players up in Bel Air. Remind everybody about it.
It's Optimal Baseball Performance up in Bel Air. OptimalBaseball.com, optimalbaseball@gmail.com if you want to get a hold of me. And I'll try and get back to you as quickly. The winter is the toughest time. It is. I'm pretty full at the moment. But we have spring and summer usually a little bit less, obviously, because people are starting to play their games and stuff. But the winter is the toughest time to reach me for sure.
Look, my son's headed back up that way to see Steve here in 2025, and it's done just one session did wonders for him, and remembering how to load up, just remembering the small things. It's been a life changer. I love you, buddy. I look forward to episode 2 of Let's Fix Sports with Glenn Clark and Steve Johnson. Happy New Year. Let's talk soon, pal. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.
Steve Johnson, former Oriole, pride of Kingsville, Boys Latin. Appreciate him taking the time for us as always. Who won our debate, Griffin? Who won the?
Well, I mean, when we're talking about the safety, I get the fumble through the end zone thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, Steve certainly made a valiant effort. I don't think that one. I don't think that. Because that's just. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's a good. There's really no. I don't know what the correct answer is. I guess it seems far too extreme that you lose possession, the other team gets the ball at the 20. Like the other team, like it's a turnover. Like it is.
I will tell you that
automatic turnover.
I have always said there is absolutely no reason for the rule to be any different whatsoever from that. I am listening more to the argument of we do treat the end zones differently than we treat other areas of the field. And so the rule doesn't have to be the exact same as is everywhere else on the field. Like, I'll listen to that argument, but not for change of possession. Like, it's outrageous.
Yeah, like, so maybe what if you, instead of a touchback for the team that already was controlling the ball, so instead of so if it's 3rd and goal, I guess, and they fumble through the end zone, and then it becomes 4th and goal from the 20? Like, is that, like, it's like...
No, I would, like, to me, in that scenario, it's a new set of downs. Like, it's...
Okay.
Like,
yeah, see, I don't think I could... I feel like that is... I don't know. Maybe that does make more sense, but like, there was no alternating possession there. So why would the down reset? Why would the down reset back to first down?
Because it's the argument for making it like it's a touchback, right? Like, it's on any touchback you would go to first down.
Well, then I don't think you can do a reset. I mean, because then it's like if you're on... I don't know. I'm trying to...
No, there's no world in which it'd be better off. You wouldn't be better off 1st and 10 from the 25 than you would be 4th and goal from the half-yard line. Like, you'd rather just have it 4th and goal and try to go punch it in on the next play. Like, I can't argue that as a reward in any stretch, in any set of
getting a new set of downs is a reward. Okay. Well, it's
like, again,
still,
it was a really
like
unique circumstance. If somehow you fumbled the ball from the 7 and it just rolled all the way through the end zone, then you can make that argument. But that's such a unique circumstance that I don't think you can set the rule based on that.
I feel like I'd be okay with like it's not a reset of down, like, because there's no alternating possession. I don't think you can do a reset. I don't think you can give them a fresh set of downs. I think it should be a touchback at the, you know, if let's say it's you're on a 50, you broke a 50-yard run and then the guy fumbles it through the end zone. Although I mean, it does feel fair that like these guys, like Jonathan Taylor or whoever, is dropping the ball at the 1-yard line and then it say it falls through the end zone, and that does seem fair, though, that, like, yeah, they should just lose the ball. Like, that was a really big mistake.
Well, yeah, because all you want to do is penalize their stupidity, understandably so. But the other team still didn't do anything. Right.
I don't know.
Like, the other team, if that's the case, the ball's free. Go pick the ball up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because these guys, a lot of the times they're right by the sideline, and they just
I
drop
understand
it and
that.
Then it just rolls out.
But you still did nothing as a defensive team. You did nothing to earn that possession.
Maybe they scared him. They scared him enough to drop the football. You know. That was,
and by the way, if he drops it at the half-yard line and it goes out of bounds at the half-yard line, it's just their ball at the half-yard line. Like, this is what makes this all so silly. It makes it all so silly. But he's on to... Like, I had never thought about the drop third strike thing before. I had never thought about it once in my life.
Yeah, he should rewrite the baseball rule book, probably.
Like, it makes no sense. Why? Why do we allow people to take a base on a drop third strike? Why? Like, what? Where did that even come from? I have now thought about that. He sent that to me last night, and I was like, what? Like, what? Why have I never thought about this before? This is nonsense. We let someone take a base for doing nothing. Nothing. They failed, and we reward them anyway. What?
Swinging a bad enough pitch, you get first base.
If they swing while they're being hit by a pitch, we know not to give them first base because we're not rewarding them for failure. But yet, we reward them for failure if it's strike 3.
Well, Rob Manfred will he'll change it then, because he has made he's not afraid. He's not afraid to make these changes.
He's too busy. He's got other ideas.
He's too busy making the golden golden at bat.
All right. We'll see if there's an episode 2 of Let's Fix Sports with myself and Steve Johnson. What are we doing now? We are going to come back in, and when we do, we will recap picks for the week. And then we'll get a tidbit, and we will get tubular. That's what we're doing, right? That's the game plan. Very good. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Pressbox's Project Game Day is the place to be after every game this season. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Adebayo, and our cast of regulars as they break down what happened, why it mattered, and what it means moving forward. You can watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay or Pressbox's Facebook and YouTube pages. Project Game Day is brought to you by the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson and Canton, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. So join us for Project Game Day after every game day this football season at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
The top high school basketball talent from across the country returns to the Wycomico Civic Center December 26th through 30th for the Governor's Challenge presented by Pohanka of Salisbury. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams from 16 states plus Canada. Multiple top 10 teams and nationally ranked players will display their talents on the court. Don't miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
I will never forgive Raheem Morris. I will never, ever, ever forgive Raheem Morris. Let's get into it. Picks recap for the week. I was all set to be back within one game. All set. All right, we go back to Christmas. We already did those, so I was 2-0, and I was feeling good about myself. I was feeling really good after Navy not only covered, but won outright in the Armed Forces Bowl, beating Oklahoma. It came down. As soon as Oklahoma lined up to go for 2, I was like, hell yeah, I'm good picks-wise. But then I was much happier, obviously, that the Navy got the stop. Navy gets the win. Good for them. Spare me Oklahoma had players transfer. You guys like to pretend like the backups in the SEC are so good that they can beat everybody else in the world, too. Like, Stop. Navy beat Oklahoma. Like I get it. Like we all can be aware of. I'll do 2 minutes on this, right?
In Texas too. Like it's more or less a home.
Yeah, with the caveat being there are Navy supporters everywhere,
Sure,
right? Like
yes.
it's not quite like if
But yeah, Oklahoma had
I get it. I get what you're saying, and the Armed Forces Bowl is kind of a disappointment for an Oklahoma program. So I I don't know. To your point, I bet there were more Oklahoma supporters there than there were Navy supporters. It looked like there were more Oklahoma supporters there, but it's not. We can't say like they won a true road game at Oklahoma either, right? There was so much effing consternation about the Cam Ward thing. We debased ourselves this weekend. I don't know if we're just so obsessed with Pop-Tarts, and like, God bless them. The Pop-Tarts people have gotten this country drunk on Pop-Tarts, despite the fact that it's still a sham that they said they were going to have an edible mascot and they're 2 years in and they still haven't delivered an edible mascot. Hey, some of us don't forget. Words mean something. So y'all can enjoy and have a celebration of your Pop-Tarts. God bless you. But some of us have higher expectations.
Sprinkles on the sideline.
That was neat. I'm actually not. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the sprinkles on the sideline. I don't know if it's just that like the football was so bad on Saturday that we were looking for anything that mattered. We were like, hey, this is competitive. I don't know what happened to us as a society, because really smart people that I like Ryan McGee, were debasing themselves. Oh, now Cam Ward's going to have to deal with this through the NFL. Dude, if one NFL team asked Cam Ward about this, I would tell them, don't draft me, bro. Like, get the entire F out of my face. No one participates in bowl games at all. Cam Ward did more than most players do. What happened to us? Who touched us? Who hurt us? Oh, he quit on his team. Dude, it's the Pop-Tarts Bowl. What? Like, and again, if this was the first time we had ever seen a player not participate in a bowl game, like, I get where it took us a little while to adjust our brains to it. Like, but this started 15 years ago. We're a decade into players not participating in bowl. When did Jalen Smith get hurt? Because that was like the one where we all said, okay, why would any player ever play in a bowl? Like, we almost think it's insanity for players to play in these meaningless bowl games now. Jalen Smith's career never recovered from the injury that he suffered in, I believe it was the Fiesta Bowl.
Yes, that is correct.
And what year was that? 2015,
That
2016?
was 15? Hold on. Oh, no, I'm pulling it up now. Yeah, had to be 15. Yes. Prior to his injury to the Fiesta Bowl, yeah, he was projected to be a top 5 pick in the 2016 NFL draft.
So, yeah, if the Fiesta Bowl was on New Year's Day, then it was the 2016 Fiesta Bowl, but the 2015 season.
Yes, the 2015 season.
We're
ACL
a decade removed from the understanding of why it is that players don't play in bowl games. Yes, is it different? Is it weird? Like, do you have a problem with the optics that Cam Ward played a half of a game to try to break a record that nobody cared about and knew existed and only mattered to Cam Ward? Sure, but Miami allowed him to do it. So they cared. They thought it mattered. They were in on it. I don't care. No reasonable person. It's not quite as fake as Talia Tungavailoa's Big Ten passing record, which I'm not allowed to talk about. I'm gonna get a letter for me acknowledging the fact that Talia Tungavailoa is not. All right, I don't want to do this. But like, it also is kind of fake because it's like a record that involves like players playing for more years because, like.
Because, yeah. Well, now they're waving the JUCO thing, and players will. Yeah,
I don't know, but it like, I get it. He has the passing touchdown record. He does, but to the point, he got to play more games than other guys did in order to get it. But whatever, he cared about it. Miami apparently cared about it, and so they participated in it. It might very well be that for Mario Cristobal, he thought it was the perfect scenario, right? Like, let's let him do the thing, and then we think that this other guy, I don't even know who the name of the other quarterback was. Thank you. Is going to be our quarterback next season. So let's give him the opportunity to play in a big game.
Quarterback next season.
Yeah, it did not look good. I agree with that. I assume maybe they're thinking about the transfer portal, whatever. But it might be that like he wanted to see him, so it was the best case scenario for him, and he was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it exactly that way." I don't know, but what I know is that like there's something deeply wrong with us. In like some perfect world where we want every game to matter because they're playing it and we're watching it, and part of that is like we're watching this so we want it to matter. It's why everybody's got to be the MVP. We'll talk about that in a second. Like we just watched something, so it has to matter more than anything else in the world. Dude, you don't have to watch. I promise you, like it won't ruin the sanctity of the Pop-Tarts Bowl if you don't watch the second half. The time-honored tradition of the Pop-Tarts Bowl will still be there if you pass on watching the second half. It's going to be okay. Here's what's different about Miami's season because they won or they lost the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Nothing.
Well, they would have had, 11 wins, I guess, technically?
Thank you. That would have then they would have gotten what for that?
They would have gotten the Pop-Tart trophy.
There's
a toaster in the trophy, Glenn.
That's true. That's true. And where else could they possibly get a toaster?
Not in the football trophy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not going to get that anywhere else. They have to hope they make the Pop-Tart Bowl next year.
We are deeply troubled, man. Like, am I going to try to tell you that Navy's a better football program than Oklahoma? No. We're not going to say absurd things for the sake of saying them. But it is a big deal that Navy beat Oklahoma in a football game, no matter what the circumstances were. That's a big deal. Nobody remembers that when Navy finally ended the streak against Notre Dame years ago, that Notre Dame team stunk. What we remember is the streak needed to end, and they did it. Navy beat Oklahoma. That's a big deal no matter what. Those two programs are not the same. I'm thrilled for them. Thrilled, beyond thrilled. Even if it's a down Oklahoma team, even if it was a bowl game, whatever you want to say, Navy beat Oklahoma. That's a big deal. It also at the point made me 3-0 for the week, and I was really feeling myself.
Wow, this guy.
Anyway. Boy, Colorado, huh?
What do you mean?
Colorado, huh?
Who picked Colorado? I didn't pick Colorado.
You did.
No,
They got that insurance, so they're going to go out there and get their brains beat in. Just get absolutely demolished by BYU. Good on BYU for caring, for being up for it. It was a hell of a performance if you care about BYU.
I was always a Jake Retzlaff guy. I don't know what you're...
Yeah, you were always a Retzlaff. It was Hanukkah, so, you should have been supporting. It was an ass whooping, man. Just an utter bludgeoning from start to finish, 36-14. As we were again searching for good football on Saturday and struggling to find it, and couldn't find it there. That's not true. Obviously, we got the Cincinnati-Denver game, so we did get that one.
That was good football. It was a good football game, but I don't know if it was good football. Like,
what do you mean?
Well, Chase Brown purposely sliding down. Like, the Bengals could have won it.
That's a different conversation, right?
And
but I thought that
Taylor's
was
like, no, let's score. And with a minute,
I think they were bad decisions, but I still think there was good football. Yeah, that's next on the list.
And then Sean Payton not going for 2.
However,
so then because when he was asked about it, he knew he did say, I don't know if he knew at the time. I guess we can assume he did, but he
that
said
if we finish in a tie, then we clinch, and that's
yeah. I don't know what to think about that one because you have 10 minutes left. Like, I mean, can you play for a tie?
You got 10 minutes left against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins,
right?
And that to me is why
if you're gonna tie, Joe Burrow's seeing the football again. So yeah, like that's not
right. It wasn't a good argument for me, and it did feel like in the moment like that's what he was thinking about. And as you point out, he acknowledged that after the game, but it's not a good argument. If what he's really saying is I don't trust our 2-point conversion plays.
I think the other thing that really, seeing Bo Nix, because I've said I do like Bo Nix. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. But him throwing up the 2, and then Sean Payton going no, and maybe it is because
but initially they only didn't after the review. Initially, they were going to go for 2. And then after the review, there was a pause, and in that pause, they changed their mind.
Were they going to go for it? Looked like Bojic's pretty quickly.
They were initially going for 2.
Okay.
And then they paused the game to review whether Mims had hung on to the touchdown or not. Which I'm still not convinced of either, by the way. Like the way that we so flippantly
are like,
of
those, it's catch.
Yeah, it definitely comes off as one of those. It was really cool, so let's keep it a touchdown things. I think that his helmet was out of bounds when he.
Yeah, but he's like down on the ground, and even though he's holding it like this, that was control. Like it wasn't gonna move until because he was down on the ground and it didn't move again until whoever the defender was, smacked it again.
Whatever. I'm not. It's not worth fighting about. In the end, the result's the same. Cincinnati ends up winning and smartly deciding not to kick another field goal. Salute.
Well, they should have.
Salute. Thank you. Should they have?
Well, did you see their
covered.
Kicker? Well, because then Denver would have covered. So.
Yeah, I know that would have been good news. I understand that would have been good news for you, but they needed to take matters into their own hands. They needed to.
I also
make sure
didn't need Joe Burrow to drop 40 points in fantasy.
Oh yeah, it killed me. I was up against Burrow in one league and against Higgins in the other. So it killed me. But I did get the point on that one. Griffin did not. All of us were on the Rams. I don't know what the Rams are. I cannot figure out what the Rams
are. They're a playoff team.
They are a playoff team, but they are like a deeply unserious playoff team.
They don't use Cooper Kupp anymore.
What happened to him? What happened to Cooper Kupp? What am I missing? Holy hell. Like last night, the Terry McLaurin thing is bizarre. It's bizarre. But they did try going to him a few times. What's his face? Terrell just did a damn good job on him. The Cooper Kupp thing, it's been 4 weeks. Holy crap. And they just don't seem right. They're not even trying in certain situations. They're like, well, there's a minute left. Let's just go ahead to the half. Like, I get their defense is good, but I kept looking at the Rams like they get Kupp and Nakua back with that defense and the way Verse and Fiske have played. They're a low-key Super Bowl threat. And in fact, in this print issue of Press Box, which you can go pick up, that's my kind of off-the-radar bet, right? Like, is the Rams to win the NFC because they had the same juice as the Buccaneers. It was at the time that I wrote it, and I was like, the Rams are better than the Buccaneers. I don't know that anymore. What are the Rams? Failing to cover against the Cardinals. It's shameful. Shameful. Utterly, nakedly shameful. They should all of them be fired. It was a free point for Jeremy Kahn and Ryan Shell. Embarrassing. Embarrassing.
Rams still do have better odds than the Bucs right now to win the NFC.
Well, now that's the funny part. Now I don't know. I can still make the argument.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Even though the Bucs might miss the playoffs still.
I'd be really surprised. Speaking of which, Carolina, boy, that the wheels came off that train. That was a fun ride for a little while. They got demolished. I'm going to lose in the Press Box League because of Baker Mayfield and Jalen McMillan. Ken Zales will. Their Christmas is canceled. Hanukkah is canceled.
Wow.
Ken Zales' cockamamie 6-quarterback league that he sprung on us at the last moment, he's going to win. This, honest to God, we should throw him out of his league. We need to talk about it. There should be an investigation. We should kick Ken out of Ken's league.
You're not dead yet, right?
I'm pretty dead, dog. I'm pretty dead. It would require Deebo Samuel doing something, and that doesn't happen anymore. What is my reality in that league?
It says you have a 31% chance. You got. Oh yeah. Well, I guess because since you have Lions players, that it's.
Yeah, and we don't know if they're going to do anything or not. Yeah, I got Gibbs.
Well, he's got Jared Goff, though.
Yeah, correct.
I don't know if he's going to play.
I'm screwed. It's over. Christmas is ruined. I might as well have gotten COVID. Jesus.
Well, I got news for you.
Yeah, what do you got?
You do have COVID, so.
Yeah, that's true. Half of us were on Carolina, the other half were on Tampa, so that one was split. Pretty split between Minnesota and Green Bay, which again was the one game that we had held out hopes was going to be great, and then for a moment it turned into a blowout. We're like, Jesus, another blowout. Then Green Bay suddenly finds life late and makes it interesting and gets back within 2. Minnesota did the bit at the end where they were just throwing the ball. Like everybody would say, hey, run the ball, use the clock. They were throwing the ball, and that's exactly what they did. There were a lot of weird scenarios this weekend. Like we'll get to the Washington game in a second. But even in the Cincinnati-Denver game, I had somebody on Twitter who was like, dude, if you're Denver, you just gotta run the ball. Like try to get to that tie when they got the ball back in overtime. I'm like, what are you serious? Like they can't run the clock out. They gotta convert a first down on third down in order if they want to take the tie. Because Denver could have taken the tie and made it in the playoffs, but they still have to pick up a first down in order to take those 3 knees. So on third down, the idea that they would just run the ball to try to run more clock and give the ball back to the Broncos to go try to win the game versus they had the opportunity to just pick up the first down and then take 3 knees, take their tie, and clinch. We're doing the most here. Of course they're going to throw the ball. Now, they failed, and so it's easy to have hindsight, but obviously you throw the ball in that spot. There was something else this weekend that was really weird that I've already forgotten about. Anyway, Green Bay made it interesting, but they never should have been favored on the road. We largely split on that. And then, the Atlanta-Washington thing last night. I'm furious about it for a few reasons. The first is because the reason I made the pick, I was 1,000% right about. I've said this before. In soccer betting, they don't include overtime. Football betting shouldn't reflect overtime either. Now, I get it. I went 1-1 in these scenarios this weekend. So if I won this one, I would lose the Cincinnati one, right? Like, I understand the fallacy of my argument. Still, the point was Washington didn't deserve to be 4.5-point favorites over anyone. They're fun, they're spunky, but they're not that good.
No,
and they played a 60-minute football game, and they weren't 1 point better than their opponent. Raheem Morris, I don't know how his key card works today. I really don't know. For that to happen at the end of the first half and the fourth quarter, like that's do you know how to football type of stuff. That's not, are you a great coach? It's, are you functionally capable of footballing type of stuff. I get that, like, I wanted the Falcons to cover. So, like, but if I'm in Atlanta, there is no way that guy can ever coach my football team again. You don't know how to football. This really is dereliction of duty type of stuff. That you don't know that you have to call a timeout. The insanity of it happening once and then you doing it again. It almost to me is like saying, I dare you to fire me. There is no justification of it. This is the type of stuff that, like, somebody would say you should look into to find out if somebody's point shaving. Like, this is bare minimal functionality of football type of stuff. It's one thing if they, like, decide at the end of the first half, hey, we don't want to turn the ball over, so we're not going to try. We're just going to run the ball. They were trying to score. The one thing they had to do was stop the clock with 3 timeouts. I've seen anything like this. This is the most embarrassing Marty Mornhinweg not taking the ball in overtime thinks this is the dumbest coaching thing he's ever seen in his life. 3 timeouts.
Did they have 3? I think did they have 2? Or are
3.
You talking about the
in
halftime?
the second half, they had 2.
Yeah.
The end of the first half, they had all 3.
Yeah. Okay.
5 combined timeouts. They just pissed away to score 0 points in a game where if they had scored 1 more, they would have won. effing it's not laughable. It's fireable. We talk about whether or not what a coach does is fireable. This is fireable. You don't know how to football. How are you supposed to be the adult in the room? How does any player walk into that, like, respect the man? Dude, you screwed this. You, the coach. I've never seen anything like it.
Maybe maybe it was like me. He had Jaden Daniels on his fantasy team, and needed a few more touchdowns from Jaden Daniels, and that was make sure he sees the ball one more time. So thank you, thank you, Raheem. Thank you, Coach.
And he called heads. Yeah. And he called heads. Because of course heads never fails. Just gonna go out. I'm telling you, we got to look into point shaving. Oh God. Anyway, what happened here? Oh. Yeah, I was on Atlanta. So important. Jeremy was on Atlanta and Kyle was on Atlanta. So instead of me going 6-3 and Paul going 3-6 and me being back within one game, instead I go 5-4, he goes 4-5, and I'm still down by 3. I hate it here. Hate it. Everybody was between 3-6 and 6-3. No high water, no low water. Ryan Shell can no longer even smell the top of the table. Whatever happened to Ryan Shell? God, he went 3-6 this week. He's now 4 games back of both KZ. And imagine us letting KZ win both picks and his fantasy league after the S that he pulled.
Oh, I'm coming for him. Don't worry, I'm coming for him.
Okay, you come for him. Griffin's also 4 games back. So is John in Little Rock. By the way, Happy New Year, John. Love you. John said something very nice on Twitter this morning, and I appreciated that. Love you, buddy. I will never forgive Raheem Morris. Never. I will curse that man's name to my death. It's an Inigo Montoya situation.
What if he donates millions of dollars to...
Yeah, he should start thinking about it. Write a big fat check today to Helping Up Mission and show your soft side. I don't think I'll forgive him, but at least I'll respect him. God. I don't really care. Imagine if you were in Atlanta. Imagine being a Falcons fan today. Imagine. There's no way. You have to fire him today. Like, I can't get over this. This is someone saying they don't know how to do the job. This is the meme of the IT dude, right? Like the guy hired for the job, but doesn't know how to do it. And so he's like scratching his head, staring at all the wires. That's Raheem Morris with football. He doesn't know how to football. I mean, obviously he's a very good defensive coach, the whole thing. Like, he could be that, but he can't be the head coach. He doesn't know how to do it. All right, this picks recap.
Thank you.
The lines are all brought to you by FanDuel, because the FanDuel Sportsbook is located inside Live Casino and Hotel. And Griffin,
you're getting $7 in free slot play inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland this season, because every time that Baltimore or Washington, maybe that's what Raheem Morris thought. He was at the casino and he thought maybe
he wanted that free slot play.
Yeah, he wanted that free slot play. $7 in free slot play, because once Jay Daniels did cash that touchdown for you late in the game, you got $7 in free slot play if you were a Live Rewards member and had your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine. Any slot machine on the floor has to be actively playing as well, but once those touchdowns score, home games for Baltimore and Washington this season, $7 in free slots. At Ronald Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. You want to do a tidbits?
Yeah, let's do a tidbit.
The top high school basketball talent from across the country once again returns to the Wycomico Civic Center December 26th through the 30th for the Governor's Challenge, presented by Pohanka and Salisbury. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams from 16 states plus Canada. Multiple top 10 teams and nationally ranked players will display their talents on the court. Don't miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and information, visit govchallenge.org.
All right, what you got?
Were you able to hear that? I'm curious.
I was.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, good. Wanted to make sure. All right, tidbit-wise, where do we want to start here? Everyone's new favorite quarterback, Tanner McKee, obviously came in for the injured Kenny Pickett as the Eagles beat down the Cowboys yesterday. First player in the NFL draft era. It's pretty much all time since 1936. So first player in NFL history to have multiple touchdown passes in his NFL debut while attempting 5 or fewer passes as well. Tanner McKee for the Philadelphia Eagles. So quarterback controversy now in Philadelphia, I guess.
Yeah, very significant.
Since the tush push, it's a system. Tush push is a system play. That was proven yesterday as well.
By the way, John, we will pick the CFP games. Griffin will send those out tonight.
Yes. Where else do we want to go here? The Commander, good one here. The Commanders, over the 25 years in which Dan Snyder was owning the team, they had won 11 games, 0 times in a season. It took the first full season with Josh Harris. They win 11 games. So fun times for Washington fans, as they do have something to be happy about.
There's no doubt about that.
Yes.
Besides Raheem Morris's incompetence, there is no question that Jaden Daniels is a very good football player, and that the Commanders are still they're still a bit of a step behind all the other teams in the NFC, which doesn't mean they couldn't win a game against one of them. But look, in comparison to what they've been, this is a miracle. I mean, this is unbelievable, and Jaden Daniels is completely legit. So, thumbs up all around. Other than the fact that Terry McLaurin screwed me.
Yeah, I know that would have been nice if Terry McLaurin had anything maybe. Of course we did talk about the Navy game. Blake Horvath joined some illustrious Navy company with his long touchdown run in that game. Man, it looked like he almost wasn't going to make it.
95 yards.
95-yard touchdown run for Blake Horvath. He now becomes the second Navy football player ever to have 2 90-yard runs in the same season, or their career for that matter. Second Navy player ever to have 2 90-yard runs in their career. And both happened, of course, this season.
Malcolm Perry.
Well done. Yeah, you saw the tweet. Malcolm Perry.
I did, but it was either him or Keenan Reynolds. Yeah. I had a 50-50 chance.
Those are the only 2 Navy football players with 2 90-yard runs in the same season, also in their same career. And then you did talk about Cam Ward now setting the new FBS touchdown record. With those 3 touchdowns, he was tied for at number 1, and then with the first one, he was moved to the lead. He threw 3, so 158 is the new mark for career passing touchdowns in FBS history. Can you round out so the next 5? We'll round out the top 6 here. So can you do the next 5 most passing touchdowns FBS history?
No, I can't.
Who did he pass?
I don't know. That's why this is so bizarre to me. Like, nobody knew what this record was. I'm trying to think if I even saw a tweet about it. I didn't even see a tweet about who it was that he passed. I don't know. Is it a prominent name? Is it?
He is. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the best hint. I mean, yeah, like he played in the NFL and he had some.
Okay, but it's not like a Hall of Famer.
No, he is not a Hall of Famer.
Okay,
probably in this school's Hall of Fame, I would guess.
He's in his school's Hall of Fame. Oh, good.
5 years from 2007 to 2011. He was I guess I'll give you this. I don't know. He was a Houston Cougar. From 07 to 2011.
Oh, so that means, Case Keenum.
Yes, Case Keenum had the record before. That is who Cam Ward had.
I had no idea that's who had the record. I had not even seen that floating around. I had no clue that's who had the record.
Our other guys on this list. We have a guy that is still actively playing. He probably has a chance, if he wins another game or two, a chance to pass Cam Ward. But this guy is
Dylan Gabriel.
Dylan Gabriel in year 6 right now. After 3 years at UCF, 2 at Oklahoma, he is at 153. So he is 5 behind Cam Ward.
This is so dumb.
What do you mean so dumb? This is history.
They're going all in to get this record that he's just gonna lose.
Well, or not. I mean, I don't know. If Gabriel plays 3 more games, probably he loses it. But if
he loses to Ohio State, I hear you.
And then the next guy now 4th on this list. He was a Boise State quarterback.
Jared Zabransky.
No.
Brett Rippon.
Nope. Current
what?
Current NFL OC.
Oh, Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore threw for 142 touchdowns at Boise State.
Jared Zabransky will always be my Boise State quarterback, though.
Okay.
He was the one that beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl, which was maybe the greatest football game of all time.
So I'm guessing you were at this Fiesta Bowl? Is that
I was at this Fiesta Bowl, but this is a really famous football game, Griffin. This goes beyond me just being there. This was the game where they ran the Statue of Liberty play, and they ran the hook and lateral on 4th and 20 or whatever to tie it up, and then the running back proposed to his girlfriend after. Like it was the greatest football game of all time, and it was at a time before like a Boise State could ever be. This is back when players like Adrian Peterson played in this Fiesta Bowl. Wow. And Boise State beat Oklahoma. Like, this was not everybody opting out. This was a historic football game.
All right, so you got Keenum, Gabriel, Moore, 2 more guys, both tied at 134 career touchdown passes in their FBS life. This guy played. He did not play this year, but he played last year.
Warren Moon.
No, not Warren Moon. He played not Warren.
He
Warren
played
Moon
last.
did not
He
play
played last year.
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler
season was last year. No, not Rattler.
J.J. McCarthy.
Not J.J.
Bo Nix.
Not Bo Nix.
Drake May.
Not Drake May.
Jaden Daniels.
Nope.
Caleb Williams.
Nope.
Talia Tungavailoa.
No, he was undrafted though.
He's undrafted.
I'm trying to think.
Devin, no, he was drafted.
Trying to think. I'm trying to think if he got any screen time last night. I don't think he did. Because I think he's just on the practice squad.
Hartman?
Yeah, Sam Hartman. Who was on the P-squad for the Commanders. 134 passing touchdowns for him in his 6-year FBS career. And then he is tied at 134 with this Texas Tech quarterback. Texas Tech from 05 to 08.
Cliff Kingsbury?
Not Cliff.
Harrell.
Yes, Graham Harrell. 134 touchdowns in his career. So that's the top 6 there.
All right.
You want to name all the guys that threw 130?
No.
Baker threw 131. Colt Brennan,
12.
of course, from Hawaii. In 3 seasons at Hawaii. Yeah, threw 130.
You know, Colt Brennan actually passed away, which makes it really sad.
Yeah, when I was going through this, I was like, oh my God. I guess maybe I hadn't seen it. I don't know. But yeah, Colt Brennan.
Yeah, it makes me sad. All right. Why don't we get Tubular?
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. There is one more football game, and we will see. It's really important to some of us, and yet...
Iowa, Missouri. Yeah, that's a good one.
Anyway, Lions-Niners tonight, 8:15 on ESPN and ABC. Of course, the Music City Bowl this afternoon, Iowa, Missouri, 2:30 on ESPN. Some Big Ten hoops throughout the day. Western Michigan, Michigan State at 3. Columbia, Rutgers at 5. New Hampshire, Iowa at 7. Throughout all the records when they get together. Southern and Nebraska at 9, all on Big Ten Network. A couple of decent games on CBS Sports Network tonight. Cincinnati, K-State at 7. Iowa State, Colorado at 9. All the rest of the college hoops find at GlennClarkRadio.com. NBA TV, Knicks Wizards at 7. It's also on Monumental. Mavs Kings at 10. NHL Network for Rangers Panthers at 7. USA for Man U Newcastle United at 3. And then WWE Monday Night Raw tonight for the final time, Griffin, on the USA Network. I know this is a very sad moment for you.
Okay, so next week will be the Netflix.
Yeah, next week is Netflix. So big one tonight on USA for WWE Raw. Non-sports?
Nope. There is nothing.
No,
There's
nothing.
No one's working in TV today.
Yeah, they all have COVID.
It's all sports.
What happened. Just found out that I gave my aunt COVID, so now we have to cancel New Year's.
Wow, jeez. Maybe.
Yeah.
Can you reschedule everything for January? You know, do New Year's in January, do Christmas in January, do Hanukkah in January. Can you do it all?
It's a hell of a time.
Yeah.
What a time.
I'm sorry.
It sucks. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Hey, speaking of things coming up today, the final day of the Governor's Challenge is today as well. Some big matchups today. I know Gilman's playing today against Holy Ghost from PA. Who else is today? Oh, Mount Zion Prep's taking on Compass from AZ. That's a really big one. Just remind everybody in general about the Governor's Challenge. Final day to get down to Salisbury.
Absolutely, where the top high school basketball talent from across the country is back at the Wicomico Civic Center today. As Glenn said, the final day as it ran through from the 26th through today, the 30th, for the Governor's Challenge presented by Pohanka of Salisbury, where, as you know now, you can witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams across 16 states, plus Canada, multiple top 10 teams and nationally ranked players displaying their talents on the court. You do not want to miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org. Govchallenge.org is the website.
All right, very good. Thanks today to Cordell. Thanks to Steve Johnson. Thanks as well Dan Wilcox. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Can You Take Me Higher?
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. I'm hoping I'll be in studio tomorrow. There is a chance. How are we feeling about the possibility of a drinking show on Thursday?
It feels good. I think everybody thinks they can make it.
All right. Dennis Shakin says he's coming no matter what.
Okay.
But even if I have COVID still, I think he's planning on coming.
But yeah, I think it should work for Jeremy. I think Proctor's going to try and make it work. At a bare minimum, he will have a quiz remotely somehow. But yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I think we should have the real deal on
rooting
Thursday.
for a Thursday New Year's drinking show.
Yeah. So can't wait to see how this one gets canceled. That'll be
Oh
interesting.
God! After all of this, Griffin survives all this and then gets scurvy tomorrow. Like he's doing the Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Jesus. Anyway, so yeah, tomorrow on the program, Patrick will join us. We'll talk some hoops.
Chris Broussard will join us as well tomorrow.
Yeah, Brew Crew tomorrow.
Yes, and stuff and things. We'll see.
All right, very good.
Pops up here.
Stuff and things,
Yes.
and we'll make our CFP picks.
Yes,
tomorrow.
yeah. So what are we gonna have? We'll do KZ on how do we do this?
Oh, you know what? That's a good point.
Yeah.
Since
we're
doing the drinking show on Thursday, well, we could still have KZ
on Thursday. Well,
we could. Yeah, we could make it part of the festivities somehow.
All right.
It's a weird week to pick games, right? Like, how many games can we even?
Hold on. Let's see. What games?
The 2 games Saturday, the Sunday night game.
Yeah, so we're gonna. So we have to do Ravens minus 25 against the Browns.
The KC Denver game, I guess we would pick.
I guess. So the Sunday night game. So that's. And KC Denver will be 4, so we need one more.
And I guess the Colts game still matters.
Do you want to do like Buffalo Liberty, the final bowl game of the entire season?
No, I'm good on that.
Why not?
Who do the Colts play?
The Colts play the Jets.
Oh, they play the Jets.
No, they play the Jags. Jets play the Dolphins, so that technically doesn't matter for the Dolphins.
Yeah, we're not doing that. All right. Oh yeah, the Colts are out. That's what I meant. I meant to say that. Oh man, my brain. That's what I meant. The Dolphins, the team is still alive.
Yeah, Dolphins, Jets, Seahawks. So Seahawks are eliminated, right?
Yeah, they're out.
Okay,
they're out.
So do we have to do? Should we do
the
NFC South games?
I don't know. We'll talk about it more. Stay on when we finish the show. You and I can chat. All right. Thanks to everybody at Pressbox and all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel. Visit Hartford, Cruise, Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, The Governor's Challenge, Costa Sin, MSAA, Maryland Sports, Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyattoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Play your players. Duke sucks.